Do you know what they always say? Just pay the hundo.
Yeah.
Just pay the hundo.
Just pay it. Just pay it.
That was probably enough to get us a copyright strike right there. Considering all the different versions of that song that's on YouTube, yeah. I can't see how that would hurt us.
We went live. I got some news here in the corner. It says Hangouts on Air is going away later this year. For quick streaming, try youtube.com/webcam.
Oh, Marvy. Just as everybody, you know why? Because people are talking to each other. That's why. That can't happen.
Yeah. Let's get rid of it there.
Yeah.
Utilizing it for stuff we don't want them to utilize it for.
Yep.
Get rid of it. Okay. So let's introduce ourselves. First, should we go should we let the new guy go first, Randy?
Let the new guy go first.
Not really new, but
we're gonna let me
from the depths of the chat rooms.
From the depths of the chat rooms. This is Louis Bright Raven, 27-year veteran of comics, science fiction, role-playing games, and other media entertainment.
Oh, come on, Louis, give us some references.
Oh, you want some references?
Give some references. Let people know where they can find your stuff from. Just saying it doesn't mean it.
Yes, I understand. You can find my work through Arrow Comics with Randy, of course. And I've also worked with Caliber Press. I did some work for Marvel in the 90s as what we call a ghost editor. That means I inked the book, but I wasn't officially credited because of political shenanigans at the company. I did that for a little bit at Marvel in the 90s. And I also have run a website and online studio called Constellation Studios for about 15, 20 years, where I promoted other creators. And they've gone on to work for Marvel and DC and other companies.
Was that the website you were running?
Yeah.
All right. If somebody were to walk into a comic shop right now and ask for your stuff, where would they be able to find it?
Oh, in the back issue bins. Most recent stuff I've done is just my art book from 2011. I'm working on getting some new stuff out ready for social media funding for Kickstarter or Indiegogo when they're ready. But I'm not ready to discuss that just yet. I want to wait until I'm ready to display it and present a real marketing drive for it.
Varian, are you MCing or am I riding this bus?
I'm black. I'll MC.
All right.
Black.
And I am Varian Grant, looking like a whole snack. I am the publisher of Last Call Comics, also the founder of IndieVolt.com, IndieVolt TV, and IndieVolt Radio, which is down right now, but that's because I'm working on some stuff for it. So don't worry about it. But
IndieVolt Radio is down right now?
It is down right now, just for a couple more days. I'm gonna have it back up before the end of the week.
Where are we going to get our international questions from then?
Oh, well, I've got some.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, I've still got some international questions.
Okay.
Around too. Some of them this week were very, very biting too.
Biting?
Yeah, some of them had
munchy, or are they complaining about our lack of cred?
Well, yeah, no, not all lack of cred. That we have apparently one of the questions that kind of commented that we have it too easy here in the States.
Oh, we probably do. I don't doubt it.
When it comes to publishing,
are you done introducing yourself?
I am. I
don't mean to be riding shotgun here, but
yeah.
Yeah, I'm Randy Zimmerman. I've been in comics for 30 some years. Arrow Comics, Weeby Comics, Massive Comics. Printed multiple things. Last decade, been doing Flint Comics, a little newspaper. We printed 10,000 of each issue, ran through 100 issues. That means there's 1 million copies of my work out there just in my little county. So also currently run the ZimmGeek channel here on YouTube. So that's the thumbnail version of it.
The ZimmGeek channel, which is the only place that you can get actual news.
Actual news? No, you can still get actual news.
Comics history.
You just have to be careful about where you get it from and make sure it's not a shill site. That's all. There are news sites out there that people actually care, that report stuff. But
your last video was very interesting. I liked it quite a bit.
You said your son liked it a lot.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
That's awesome.
He liked the part where Brie Larson shakes, and he thought it was very funny.
We didn't make these comics for you. Yeah. That's about right.
So yeah, Lewis.
Yes.
Today is your inaugural episode. You stepped out of the chat.
Oh, Lewis has been in the chat this whole time.
I know he's ascended from the chat room, from click, clack, 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 to being able to talk to us. Lewis, question for you.
Certainly.
First of all, welcome. But this is your inaugural episode, but then you managed to go get some drama yourself.
Yes, I did.
And I love it when people bring drama in Indie Vote. It's great.
Oh, is that what it is? I need to run out and get some drama.
Yeah. This is.
It's really not that much drama. I mean,
Randy, you haven't brought me good drama since the episode at the Comic-Con.
Which episode about the where we were talking about that? Huh? Oh yeah, well, the Great Lakes Con, or are we talking that other con that wants to charge?
No, it was the Great Lakes Con.
Okay,
that was the last time you brought me some good drama.
All right, well, I'll have to work on that.
Talk about the quick drama. We'll talk about the quick drama.
Yeah, go ahead and talk about what happened with you.
Basically, this morning or late last night, I went over to Bleeding Cool, and there was a article about New Japan Pro Wrestling, of which I am a regular viewer. And there's a show in Texas coming up called the G1 Tournament. And the article writer, Gavin Sheehan, wrote about who was going to be in each tournament block. And there's 20 members. And he makes the comment that there's not very many non-Japanese wrestlers, only 6. Well, it so happened, since he listed all the wrestlers, I counted them, and there were 8. So I basically responded after trying to reach him privately. I couldn't find a way on the site to correct him politely, I guess you could say. So I basically posted on their page, come on, can't you count? It's 8. And I listed the members of who were the non-Japanese wrestlers and where they're from. And I left it at that. It was not intended to be tearing down the writer or snarking at anybody. It was just quick correction, no big deal, But I guess I didn't put an emoji or a ha-ha or whatever to make it seem like I was just trying to be polite or funny about it. So we basically corrected the article and then went in and moderated my post and posted, I like to eat farts and I'm a snarky asshole, in place of what I had originally posted, and then responded something like, oh, you do you? Well, why'd you waste your time posting snark? And that's what he posted. And I saw that, and or I didn't see it. Some other people on Facebook saw it. And
he changed your post?
Yeah. He basically abused moderator rights, as far as I'm concerned. And so I addressed it publicly on my Facebook, and I called attention to Richard Johnston. I don't know what he is actually to Bleeding Cool. I don't know if he's the owner anymore. I don't think he is. I think other people own it. But I basically asked for a quick apology of it because he overreacted to what I had posted, obviously. And, as a person who's been in the industry as long as I've had, and I'm not just a guy who's worked in comics and role-playing games, I've also been a journalist myself. I've actually been published by the Las Vegas Journal and the Laughlin Times and the Detroit Free Press and the Chicago Tribune. So I actually do know something about journalism. He just, I told him, hey, that was uncalled for. I'd like an apology, some respect. And I did get a response back from him saying that wasn't going to happen and that I'm toxic. So whatever. As far as I know, toxic is people who flood the market with redundant junk and try to, take everything for themselves, not people making a slight correction on someone's, seemingly, I guess you could say a simple error. I mean, things happen.
Well, Lewis, I know you've been keeping up with the news and with comic news and stuff and how people have been treated.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who corrects anybody on any of these shill sites is automatically branded as toxic and a phobe of whatever they can brand you as. It's just the way it works.
Well, yeah, but what they are is they're afraid of people like us because they're scared that if we actually get a fair and equal shot, we're going to kick them to the curb and replace them.
Well, see, in their mind, they don't want us to exist because we know our stuff. That's the problem.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
They want to call us out and say, "Well, you don't have any cred," or that's why I wanted you to list what you had done before we got into this. But
well,
these
I'm too humble at times about
any chance. Well, see, we've lived it, so it's a lot of times we just don't think of it.
Right.
You sit back and you look at it and you go, "Holy crap! It's been 30 years."
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing comics for 30 years, sequential art in one form or another, whether it's advertising, whether it's working in my county, whether it's working in the independent market or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's been 30 years and there's 30 years of experience there that nobody really wants to acknowledge. And these sites anymore, especially the shill sites, anybody that's not an official person representing one of the people who's, let's be honest, I guess I'll just be blatant, even though I'm not on rum. If you're not so high up that they need to kiss your butt, you're obviously toxic if you try to correct them because they don't want to hear it. And yeah, you probably should have followed that up with a smiley face emoji or a piece of poop emoji, probably. But if I were to communicate with those guys, I'd just constantly, I've said some snark to that particular site at times because they get it so wrong so often. And it's, I don't even try to go up there anymore because I know 3/4 of the information they have up there. If they're not reprinting a press release, they're just blatantly shilling and kissing somebody's butt. Oh, this is going to be so great. It's like, no, dudes, get a handle on it.
Randy, that brings me one of my, and I just want to sneak a question in here that we got from one of the people who listen to Indie Vote Radio, one of the international listeners. And the question was, and I'm going to clean it up because they're first, my English is
oh, okay. I thought you had to remove all the expletives.
no. But they said, and Lewis, this can be addressed to you too because they addressed it to Randy, but
certainly go ahead.
So Randy, with all the years you've been in the comic industry, have you ever seen it as bad as it is today?
As far as what goes? As
well,
far as the numbers, no.
I guess the numbers in the industry, the
numbers in the mainstream have never been lower. The money that's being gathered inside of comicdom that's going straight to the artists, if you look at these crowdfunding campaigns, has probably never been bigger. Mm-hmm. These guys are, they're not making image money. Image was probably a high point there because of the millions that this small group of creators actually pulled into themselves and sat there and just stunned because the retailers got behind them 100% because they were desperately looking for anything that they could sell to their base. But the money going to a lot of individual creators, as long as they're careful, this is a good living. These folks have the potential of making a good living. And that's cool.
I agree with Randy pretty much on that.
But this business is we discussed this last week. The mainstream especially has always been into a contest of who can pay the least to the creator. Mm-hmm. How little they can get away with, how little in the royalties they can do. And as time goes by, they're realizing that they have to give these guys some sort of recognition for the stuff that they've created and the stuff that they've done. And, it's like Kirby. Kirby did all that work during the early 60s, well, all of his life, mainly just to put food on his table. And all of that stuff now is coming back around in other media because media is blown wide open and they're looking for anything with a little imagination. Pardon me. So they're digging back into the 50s and 60s stuff, early 70s, trying to find that really imaginative stuff. That's a lot of that stuff, you know.
Looking for really imagine those stuff that they own. Let's clarify that.
Well, yes and no, or stuff that they can own.
Yeah.
You know, Disney, if they don't, if they think that they can make money on it, they'll just come in and outright buy it. So, but yeah, who knows where some of this stuff's going to end up? Disney might end up ruling the whole world after a while.
Yeah, there's rumors that DC is going to get sold to Marvel and Disney at some point. So,
I don't know if that could actually happen because Warner Brothers has got such a tight. They'd have to come in and buy out Warner Brothers, and I don't think that would pass. Yeah. As far as they barely got the Fox deal through. That took them 6 months of shoving a round peg into a square hole.
Yeah.
So, and even that's a little, you get into the stuff that they did, the finagling that they ended up doing, especially when it comes to that Dark Phoenix movie, and you just sit there and you go, really? If that stuff actually happened, holy crap. We saw this week, and I know that we're off of indie comics subject matter, but the guy who did Dark Phoenix just fell on his sword yesterday because he was told to.
Well, he actually been falling on his sword for like a week, hasn't he?
Well, the first time I saw it was yesterday on the news, where he just said, it was all my fault. And they said that, who was it? Grace Randolph or somebody said that, I only watch a certain amount of people, but they said that expect that to happen because this guy's got a backroom deal to do a Marvel movie later down the line. If he falls on his sword and plays ball. Okay. That's the basic that's been the basic agreement, depending upon the article and the grapevine rumor, all rumor, but who knows?
That's typical business too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the comics has always been a screw you business, and it's always been run by the money guys. And like I said, and Spank the Monkey on the comic market, it's one great big long chain of the last person being screwed and that person coming through and creatively finding the way out and starting the next link. And I think that the crowdfunding is really turning into one of those links. There's too many people starting publishing companies.
Yeah. I mean, we'll all get bought by Disney. I would like to let Disney know that Last Call Comics is for sale.
Oh yeah, we're all we're an industry of whores.
Yeah. Yep. I'm the cheapest whore in town.
But I think what you'll see first is like what you just read when we first come on the air. They will try to roadblock the communication line and supply line as much as possible. You're probably going to see trouble with crowdfunding sites. You're probably going to see trouble with YouTube. You're probably going to see trouble with super chats before all of this is done. Within the next 2 or 3 years, you'll see they'll shift the goal line again on YouTube to make it harder for people to get monetized. They'll not allow the super chats to happen because there's too many people that are paying for their groceries off of those super chats. The Indiegogo will move their percentage line, or Kickstarter will get a bigger, more hazardous gatekeeper than it has now, and you'll see those little roadblocks start springing up. It's just like what Amazon did to young authors when they were starting to make serious money off of ebooks. They moved that goal line up to the point where now ebooks have stagnated. So they're just going to keep milking the system for the corporate.
Okay, so I got a question that I did not answer last week, and it was in my email, and gonna ask it this week to both of you guys. It's funny because it comes from this guy may be a millionaire. I don't know. His first name is Ron. I think his last name is Guggenheim.
Okay. If he wants to invest in a comic company, we're good to go right here. We can go. Yeah. Contact us immediately. We can be out. We can be running before the end of the year. It just take a couple mil.
He says, okay, so he's got 2 questions, and one of which was, he says, I want to be an artist.
Awesome.
Art school is stifling me. How can I make it as a comic artist without art school?
Oh yeah. Heck yeah. The only art school I think out there that's viable for sequential art, in my opinion, is Kubert's. And that's in New Jersey, and that's really expensive per class hour. Everybody else, unless you get a really experienced teacher that's teaching sequential art, most of the time it's just experience. Just go out there and get the experience. Look at how much instructional all of these masters had.
And Kubert School has some correspondence courses. They're a little pricey, but the correspondence course, you can do them at your own leisure. And because I think the school itself has a 70% dropout rate.
Oh yeah, I believe that. Yeah, I do.
They don't make the grades. They don't meet the criterion of what's expected of them at the classes.
It's not just that, but the classes are very expensive, especially from semester to semester.
Yeah, well, that's true of any art school. I mean, Savannah College of Art and Design was the same thing. I went down there a few years ago to look into teaching down there, and they have some good teachers down there. They have Tom Lyle, who's worked on Robin and Batman and Punisher and stuff, and he's like one of the head guys there for the sequential arts department. But a lot of their students down there in SCAD aren't even American artists. They're foreigners who have come over here, and there's a disconnect because they know that market from Korea or the Philippines compared to American comics, and the guys are trying to teach them what American comics is about, and there's this, they're butting heads basically, and that's part of the reason why SCAD doesn't always seem to have the people coming out of the school getting into the business as well as Kubert.
I bumped into somebody that went through Savannah. I ran rings around him in art history. Just, dude, who taught you this? You don't, and he come out not knowing basic people. Sheridan and Baudet and any of the undergrad. He thought the underground movement should just be dismissed. It was nothing. It's not just a group of guys in their basement there, Yeah,
that has more to do with who structured the classes, not so much what's.
That's true, but
because I had the same problem when I was at Central Michigan University. I basically built the sequential art program at Central for like 3 or 4 years, along with some other students. We basically built it up from the ground, and we created our own comics history courses and our own everything. I think it lasted from 92 until 97 was how long they offered it. And they probably would still be teaching it if I was still in Michigan. I'd probably be the teacher for it. But yeah.
Do you have any college teaching cred?
Yeah. I've taught at
no, I mean, do you have a bachelor's degree or something?
Yeah, I've got double bachelor's of science in English and art, emphasis creative writing, emphasis literary analysis and criticism in both English and art. And
where'd you get those from?
Central.
Okay.
Central Michigan. Yeah, I graduated a year and a half early with a basically quadruple degree.
Well, I'll have you guys know that I didn't do any of that shit.
No, I didn't either. Growing up, I took a couple years in Skill Center and learned all those tools that nobody uses anymore. Well, but everything else has all been self-taught. But experience is your guide.
I have to agree with Eric, because a lot of the stuff I did in school, I mean, I was fighting with the art department at Central. Well, that doesn't apply. I'm like, look, show me what you want to show me for art history and just the basics of illustration and other things. Show me how this applies to what I want to do, and we're good. I'll figure out the rest of it later on my own. And that's exactly what I did when I left Central. I basically started working editorially as a freelancer for Caliber, for Gary Reed, and then I moved out west because of my parents selling the house that we were living in Michigan and moving out west because they needed my help because of their health problems. But that's how I got into that initially, was working with Gary.
See,
not to change the subject, but Billy Tucci is also live right now.
Okay.
But anyway, no big deal. Just got a notification.
So now this is Ron's other question, and this is sure to get Randy's blood pumping. I'm very sad he doesn't have rum in his system right now.
Oh,
so
yeah, this is not going to be a rum night. So
he says he recently submitted his comic to a independent comic convention.
Say
A
that again.
convention?
Yeah, in California.
A convention, not a publisher.
No, a convention. Because he's been asked to submit his comic to their safety and assurance board to see if he can be offered space.
Oh,
in
okay.
their
That's
art.
just your traditional stuff that you send to a convention for whether or not you're going to get in or not. Okay.
Convention by committee. Never a good thing.
But this is the first he's asked. Is the first he's heard of a safety and assurance board? This is new to him, and it's something we've heard of before. I've never heard of a safety and assurance board. They have to actually get his comic and read through it to see if it meets standards of one, diversity, inclusion.
Yeah. I've never heard of it called what'd you call it again?
Safety and assurance.
I've never heard of it called a safety and assurance board, but yes, I have seen many conventions that have their committees who want to review your work and make sure that it's not X-rated or hate speech or something like that. That's not new, but to call it a safety and assurance board is just a highfalutin.
I have a question. I have a question. And I'm not monetized yet, so thank God.
Okay.
There's a problem with that title.
I
have never felt at any point unsafe from reading a comic. Whose fucking safety are we talking about?
Well, you're talking about the convention safety. That the last thing they want is an angry mob.
Exactly.
So
that's what it is. It's just gatekeeping. That's all it is. They're just gatekeeping. They want to make sure that you had your quality assurance level and all that.
Safety and assurance board. You think this will spread to other cons?
It already has, but it's too late.
Yeah, that's happening. It's been going on for years. It's just never been called that particular title.
It's just a fancy way of saying it.
I've never been asked. I mean, I've been lucky. Well, no, I mean, San Diego asked me to send my books in, and I sent them a copy of my books, but they were like, "Nope, you can't get an artist alley table. You can get one of these lovely exhibitor tables if you want, but you can't get artist alley." But yeah, wow. I don't like a safety and assurance board. That scares me. It makes me think that they're, I mean, imagine if you send in some content they don't like, who's on the board, and they don't like what you wrote in the story, and they take pages out of your book, scan it, throw it up on social media, seek the dogs on you. It's only a matter of time before that happens, and
that can happen regardless of anything. I mean, you're putting your product out there in the world. Anybody can do that, so it has nothing to do with a committee or a board. I mean, anybody can do that.
We know who's on that committee and the board.
You know who's on that committee.
No, we know exactly what type of people are on that committee and that board.
Are you talking about those 4 girls that are into anime and never read comics? Come on.
and they're gonna look at your book. They're gonna look at Spank the Monkey and say, "Spank the Monkey, that's a euphemism for masturbation."
Damn right it is.
And
that's why I like doing the character. Come on. You can't handle it. Don't read it. It's a lot to be said for that whole underground movement we were talking about earlier.
And the reason, there you go. It says right on the book, mature readers. So you kind of have to be mature. If you're that upset with it because it says that, then you're not mature enough to handle the book.
We are an industry of immaturity.
Unfortunately.
Always have been.
I
arrested maturity or lack thereof.
I took a picture of Caden with Spank the Monkey on the comics market when he was like 5, and he had the book open, and his eyes were wide, and I sent it to Randy. It was a pretty funny picture.
I wasn't offended.
Yeah. You got the joke, but other people who hadn't read the book, they probably were like, "What's so funny about that?"
I've sold copies of Spank #2 to kids. It's all about strip clubs.
Is it?
Yeah, but I make sure their parents are there. I don't sell it to some kid who comes in and says, "I like it because it's got titties in it." I make them bring their parent over, and I tell them what's in that book before, is it okay if he reads adult material? There isn't a lot of blood in it, is there? No, it's all, there's a couple of breaths. Oh, that ain't gonna hurt him.
I'm sorry. I looked.
I've had that happen a couple times.
I looked behind me, and my lava lamp there was looking awfully phallic, so I had to turn around and see what was going on. I think I like that.
And now you have to stare at it. Is that what it is?
I am mesmerized by it now.
I'm mesmerized by my lava lamp.
Yeah,
there's 5 people watching us, and one of them is Ted Davies, and then there's the 3 of us. So there's a couple people in there. Don't be afraid to get into that chat, folks. Just say hello. We'd like to know if you have a question, you want to talk.
You want to.
Hey, Ted, I can't wait for Saginaw either. It's driving me crazy in a good way. I love it. It's turning into a monster.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Randy Zimmerman puts together a show called.
It started when I was doing that funny book paper.
Yeah.
As a way of thanking everybody for us being out a year. So we threw a little show at the Masonic Temple. We had a few hundred people that showed up, and it was a good time. It was nice. It's always been a relaxed show. Well, what happened is the Flint Farmers Market said, you need to bring that show over to us. And we brought that show over there to the farmers market. They had just built that farmers market, and boom, our attendance doubled, and things started, going crazy, and we're wall to wall people. And it was an awesome time. Well, now the Saginaw market just opened up. In fact, this weekend, they're celebrating their first anniversary. And the weekend after that, the last weekend of this month, we're going to throw that one-day show up there in their banquet room. And the attention that it's gotten is just insane.
How did that happen? Did someone from the Saginaw market come down to Flint and see what was going on, or did they?
Yeah, well, somebody from the Flint market also has a shop up in Saginaw, and they said, you need to talk to this guy because he puts on a Comic-Con. Things are crazy, and it's a lot of fun. So they called me and they said, hey, we hear you put on a con. We want you to put on a con up here in Saginaw. And I'm like, I don't know. Just like what I did with the farmers market. We're kind of comfortable where we're at. It's a nice, relaxed show. I really don't want to get into it a whole lot. And then they said, well, we'll do this and this. And I'm like, oh, well, if we're going to do it, we're going to have this and this. And they're like, oh, yeah, no problem. And boom, all of a sudden we're doing a show in Saginaw. Then they contacted the press and said, hey, Comic-Con's coming to Saginaw.
Yeah.
And M Live and Channel 5 ran out to the marketplace and with Comic-Con coming to Saginaw, they're going to have a comic show. And boom, it's just been blown up ever since. We've got 2 event pages up there. One of them was started by the former director at the SVRC marketplace who's gone. So we don't have any control over that one. It's floating around. And the other event page I started probably a month ago, I think it was, because we didn't have any control over the first page. And we've got like 1.4K people interested.
Wow.
And 600 and it's 100 and some coming. I don't know what the exact figures of it are. And now, thanks to you, we've got that SaginawComicCon.com up there talking about who's coming. It's going to be it's a small show. There's not any huge stars. I mean, Bill Loeb's is going to be there. Scott Roseman is going to be there. But it's just going to be a day of fun. And now I'm getting called. Well, you're going to be there. Absolutely. I'll be there. I'll sign books. We'll give away some Flint comics. I'll have comics for sale. Varian will have all of his last call comics for sale. I'll even have Preserver comics I can give away. Some. I don't have a lot of those left. I got to get some more.
Lewis, are you making a trip up?
I'm typing some information to some people to get them to come over to the
Lewis is all the way down in North Carolina.
I'm in South Carolina.
South Carolina.
He was right down there. Let me tell you about your boy. Lewis would not leave his home to go be an embedded reporter at Heroes Con for Indie Vault so he can see if everything was A-okay down there. He would not do it.
Don't make that simple, buddy. They're already clamping down on people for hate speech.
Yeah.
You don't want to be you don't want to be branded a white supremacist.
No.
Well, I I think the first problem with me being branded a white supremacist is that
Hey, skin color doesn't matter.
you ever seen that Dave Chappelle skit with the racial draft?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Chappelle was a genius. It burned him out. That's the problem.
Speaking of which, why don't we talk about that situation there at Heroes Con?
Yeah. Why didn't you go down there and find out what's going on? I need the skinny.
Well, first off, it was going up there, and actually, I have talked to about 80 to 120 people who were at the show, and not a single one of them knows anything about what the individual that you reported to me about had talked about. Not a single person knows anything about this. So maybe you should tell everybody what you saw as a rumor or what you saw.
Varian, you sound surprised. First up, what? What could this just be the rantings of one crazy person who saw somebody do an okay sign and automatically freak? Oh, I heard that's a right wing gesture. Oh my God, I'm not safe.
Well,
Heaven help me.
That's exactly what happened. A YouTuber, who he went online. He was apparently at his table. I guess he's a comic creator, and
are we using air quotes there or what?
No, he's a legitimate comic creator. He's
okay, that's
Marvel
cool.
And Boom Studios and other places.
Really?
And someone said, and someone gave him the A-OK symbol, which apparently is
a downward OK symbol.
Yeah, I might as well be.
Now, was it downward or was it just an OK symbol?
Supposedly it was downward around the hip.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's the punch. That's the circle. When you see the anyway. So he's seen the symbol and he was taken aback by it. He jumped online, jumped on Twitter, and he's like, "Hey, I don't feel safe here." He added the convention, and of course the internet reacted, with WTFs and "Oh my God, are you okay?" and thoughts and prayers, and they
Good Lord, you saw somebody touch their finger with their thumb. Thoughts and prayers.
And
apparently he was also approached by somebody who told him that they would keep him in their thoughts and prayers. And what people need to understand is at his table, which is on display, his station on his Twitter page, he has, I guess, what is called the transsexual flag on his display openly at his booth. I think his name is Josh Trujillo. Is that correct?
Possibly.
Yeah. And I think that we're in the Bible Belt. There's going to be a few Bible thumpers who are going to come around and say something snarky. But okay, you react with, "Oh, you want to pray for my soul? Please do. Get on your knees and pray, and I'll say hallelujah, amen, and everything else, and you can have a nice day." That's how you react to that. You don't freak out on social media thinking, "Oh my God, I'm going to be attacked."
Not in today's society, though. You freak out and you're afraid for your life.
Yeah.
That's just the over exaggeration of society.
Yeah.
Especially of the two touchy ones, of the Fifi, as they call it, the snowflake people who don't have an understanding. Is that guy from the South area? So he's.
I think he's from Florida, but I'm not sure.
I was going to say, is he familiar about where he is? And is it familiar ground to him? Because I have people all the time that tell me to have a blessed day, and it irks me, but I don't get bent out of shape, and I'm afraid for my life. Or I have people say things that aren't, that don't fit the spirituality mold that, it's okay. That's the way you believe. That's fine. Happy Hanukkah. Have a blessed day, whatever you have to do to get through the day.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with Z.M. Thomas of Trepidation Comics.
No.
He makes a book called The Bible 2, which is it's a satire. It's about the continuing adventures of Jesus. And that
doesn't even get you fired at DC anymore. Damn it.
But Zach got on a plane. Name is Zach. And got on a plane. And someone, they have to go over your luggage. He was going to a con.
Right.
And I'm not sure if he was on the way to or from the convention, but someone tore up his books. Someone at TSA tore up his books. Like, he took pictures of it. Over $800 worth of comics were ruined.
Wow.
Because they didn't like them. And
Again, that there's someone who just overstepping their authority, and
Well, it's TSA though.
yeah,
I got TSA stories, but anyway.
so I mean, it's I'm not sure if he's ever paid for it. I told him I wanted to do a follow up on it with indievote.com.
See, now that's the kind of thing that you should see on these news sites,
Mm-hmm.
and you never do. You never. This is the first I've heard about it.
right.
Yeah.
First time I heard about it too.
Yeah, he's talked about it a few times, but I remember I didn't hear about it until I was looking at the website for information for another article, and he posted it, and yeah, there we go. Let's see here. I'm going to actually give me 1 second, guys. I will.
Well, getting back to Mr. Trujillo's situation,
Mhm.
I talked to several people who basically said they hadn't heard anything about it, and that HeroesCon had a much larger representation of the LGBTQ community that this year, and if this was happening, it was a very isolated incident that almost nobody knew anything about.
So do you think this person? Do you think that they were just trying to stoke the fires or get some attention?
No, I don't. I think it was just a situation where he overreacted to a situation that was probably. I believe there probably was something said or done that might have made him feel uncomfortable. I'm not.
Well, he had just done a panel too, if I remember reading that right, an LGBT panel.
Yes.
So he had already been. Plus, if he had the flag sitting out there on his table, he might have actually had a legitimate white supremacist walk by and give that hand signal to him that he noticed. And then the next person that came by that wanted to pray for his soul because they're Christian and they're all into, that's their polite way of spreading snarky love.
Mm-hmm.
It just sent him over the edge.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he was afraid for his, his existence. That doesn't mean that they walked up and said, you so-and-so, I'm going to do this and this,
Right. Exactly.
It's just, I think it was a little overblown, but it's real likely that he saw that symbol because it pops up, it takes all kinds. There are white supremacists that read comics.
Yeah. And the thing
it's
is,
not a large percentage,
right?
But it only takes one to make everybody look bad.
Exactly. The thing is, though, Randy, there were people right on each side of him. That there was another gay creator who didn't mention anything about this, and then there was a black artist, Dexter Vines. I don't know if you're familiar with Dex's work.
No.
Okay. Dex is a very popular inker for Marvel, but he was right there, and I can see if that actually had happened and it was really severe, I don't think Dex would have stood for it because Dex is like twice Varian size.
Well, again, he might have had two people on both sides of him that had thicker skin.
Yeah.
And they just didn't look at the right direction at the right point at the right time as this guy was given that symbol.
Yeah, it could be.
You might have had some crazed white supremacist down there that actually wanted to upset him and did that,
right.
Did the little hand thing.
Yeah.
And then when the other person come by and legitimately wanted to pray for his soul because the person didn't fit this other guy's beliefs, it just sent him over the edge.
Yeah.
I want to read this article that Zach posted real quick.
Which Zach?
ZM Thomas.
Okay.
So he says, after a long and exciting trip down to Wizard World Philadelphia this past weekend. Now, this is back in May 28th, 2015, I should add. But this is the type of stuff that Rich Johnson and his, he should be posting about, right? It was time for me to fly back to Minnesota for my second local show of the month at MSP Comic-Con in Falcon Heights. So I hopped a plane on Sunday to fly home for Mother's Day and arrive later that morning. Everything seemed to have gone off without a hitch as I landed in Minneapolis. Well, almost everything. I'd open up my luggage at the baggage claim carousel to grab the souvenir Star Wars lightsaber that I had picked up for my son at the convention and was greeted with several open packages of my book, The Bible 2. What struck me as peculiar right off the bat about this whole situation was that none of my other titles had been opened. Neither Dead Reckoning nor Sioux Falls appeared to have been disturbed in the slightest. Only the Bible 2 and 7 books of 8 The Aborted Fetus graphic novels, unlucky enough to have been in the same packaging together, were open and strewn around about in my luggage as if Mighty Cyrus came in with a wrecking ball. So I went and talked to the Minneapolis TSA supervisor to express my concerns over how the contents in my bag were handled. I can safely say the amount of fucks given by him was, if I were to round up and carry the one, would still be 0. TSA supervisor said, and I quote, "It isn't our responsibility to take care of your materials in your bag. If you want to have them treated with respect, maybe you should put a note in your luggage." After a few minutes of that, he then sent me on my way, telling me I'll need to file a report with TSA.gov to recoup any damage and losses. So when I got home, I opened up my luggage and started to tally up the amount of damage that my books had undergone from what I originally believed to be mishandling. And it was then that I realized the extent of damage. These books weren't mishandled, they were deliberately destroyed. I had one full graphic novel of the Bible 2, Volume 1, Hail to the King of the Jews, baby, completely ripped apart. Pages strewn across the bottom of the luggage, while the cover itself was also removed. The first issue of Volume 2, the Bible 2 Double Cross, was also ripped right down the center in half. In addition to those two completely destroyed issues, the Face Full of Peter edition was also severely damaged, as if the agent attempted to crush the comic up in a ball. All of which seemed to have been targeted due to their religious prejudice. In total, over 37 copies of the Bible 2 were severely damaged and are irreparable. The spines completely smashed, pages are ripped and crushed, and even removed from the books, which are no longer able to be sold, and resulting in a total loss of $895. So this past week, I spent several hours on the phone filing police reports, filing damage claims with TSA, sitting on the phone with the comic book legal defense fund, trying to weigh my options. I've even contacted the Department of Homeland Security, where they're looking into this on an internal level and potentially seeing whether this qualifies as a hate crime. And I was notified that I was actually having my First Amendment rights violated by a federal agency. So as of now, the situation is currently out of my hands up until I either hear back from TSA on my claim with their findings, or whether they choose to ignore me for 6 months and force litigation due to Federal Tort Claims Act. Either way, it looks like I'll be playing the waiting game. Until then, I'll keep you guys posted on the latest developments.
When was this done?
This is in May of 2015, and I'm just talking to him about it now.
May of what?
2015.
Really? Is that when he posted this?
Yep.
Yeah.
And he hasn't gotten any further movement on it?
Not to my knowledge. He and I are gonna do I told him I want to talk to him about it on Indie Vote.
He was flying into Minneapolis from where?
Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Wizard World, Philadelphia.
That happened in Philadelphia. It didn't happen in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Because in Minneapolis, all they care to do is get the bag off of the plane and get it onto the baggage claim area and have the guy take it.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't really inspect that once it lands. Before it takes off, that's when they inspect it. That's when they caught it. So that problem happened by some idiot in Philadelphia voicing his opinion of the guy's work.
$895. Oh, let's round up $900. $900 off a product ruined.
Yeah, he needs to take that as a lesson. Get himself a black bag that he can seal up, or better still, ship it directly to the convention, away from TSA being able to open it up. Because obviously he's got idiots out there that are judging his work. He can't depend on moving it from point A to point B over the airline ever again. He probably hasn't heard nothing about this.
Yeah.
Since, or he would have reported it.
And you think that the rich might, champion of comics, right?
Now you're just trying to be funny. Bleeding Tool. All they want to do is push Marvel and DC. They're more upset, or they're more bedazzled by a webbed up 4 than they are trying to do any legitimate journalism.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I think in Zimm's case, to have that happen, first of all, I would have been outraged. He handled it a lot better than I did. I would have been
Well,
Yeah.
what you're seeing on a post is completely different from how he probably handled himself.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he probably fumed a lot. Does this guy do, I take it he does print on demand? Or did he print a whole
Yeah.
bunch of that book?
Yeah.
He PODs?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. I would really like to read his stuff.
Yeah, I'll bring the Bible too up to Saginaw.
I find it fascinating.
Yeah.
But that's just the way I roll.
Yeah.
I wish him the best. You know, he's not in a easy. When you get into stuff like that, especially when you're in a public area, you're always going to have your idiots.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. And he took a hit.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy. As a matter of fact, the week that I started IndieVote.com, he posted on Facebook that there was a guy who had taken his content, his book, and like wrote his own name on it and stuff, and was doing a Kickstarter.
That did what now?
Did a Kickstarter with his book.
Of his book?
Somebody copied someone else's book and made a Kickstarter claiming it was theirs.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
M3SOZ is in the house. We haven't acknowledged him yet. We haven't looked at the chat. You guys should put topics in the title of your videos. Alterna, Earthworm, Jim, Cyberfrog. You may be found in the search better. Just my 2 cents.
Yeah, he's got a point.
It's a good thing he has sense.
Yeah.
Hat means volume very low. Not sure what that means, M3SOZ.
He's saying that
my hat.
yeah, his volume is very low. Lewis's volume. Might
Wow.
say a little bit more, Lewis.
Well, I promised Varian I would wear the cowboy hat when I first came on. So if you think it's going to make it better, I'll take the hat off. I don't think it's going to make a difference.
We are all the hat, the full brim guy. That's funny. We are all the hat squad here.
Yeah. But, yeah. But other than that.
Yeah, you need to look at the camera too, Lewis.
Yeah.
M3SOZ says the weirdest thing about the bottom picture is the guy in the front looking forward,
At the camera.
looking toward the viewer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm looking more at the screen because of how my camera's set up. I don't know where to put it where I'm happy with it. I've been trying for a week to get it where I want.
Oh, I hear you. It's all an adjustment thing, like I said earlier.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But, all righty. Is that better now? Easy or M3SOZ?
I don't know. He doesn't speak very, very quick. We're on a delay from us talking to the chat. So, but anyway, what were we talking about? It says, yeah, you're reading my commentary after the fact. LOL. Yeah. Sorry, E3SOZ.
This is let's see here. This is when someone hijacked his book and did a GoFundMe.
Oh, jeez.
And we did a story on our Indie Vault. They were asking 10 grand. They didn't get anything, and it was shut down. We reported to GoFundMe and everything, but yeah, very sad situation.
Oh, there's idiots out there that'll try anything to make a buck or two.
Yeah.
So.
We should. I think maybe I will put some of those tags in there that because I mean it would only help.
It would.
The M3SOZ was referring to.
Alrighty.
And thanks for those suggestions, M3. I will take them into account. Maybe I'll start next week, or I don't know if it's really hard to go back for some reason and put that in. But it would help. Yeah, Lewis, you lost the hat, man. I don't know if you were like good old JR for a second, man, with the hat.
They are.
Dude, we're all the hat squad. Put your hat back on.
Okay. Yeah. I gotta be my cowboy self, huh?
Yeah. I got a chance to meet JR with Randy.
Who, what?
JR, the wrestling commentator. He came over and asked you where'd you get the coffee. At Great Lakes Comic Con. Guy with the big cowboy hat, big 10-gallon cowboy hat. Came over.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I was freaking out like, that's JR.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
My God. But yeah.
Before or after I was told I didn't have to understand shit.
That
All righty.
I
Do you have some other questions from your viewers?
I do. So, okay. Now this is a spicy question. Spicy.
Oh. Let me get the ice for my drink first. No, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, okay. Why don't any of you guys believe that women have a place in comics to write or draw them?
Whoa, who said that?
I didn't finish the question. The question must be finished. Well,
okay, go ahead.
It comes from a girl named Emily, and she wants to know, if she wants to start. She's thinking about starting an all-female comic company. Female inkers, female writers, female.
Go ahead. That's fine. As long as it's good work, we'll support it.
What kind of sexist movement is that?
Lewis, why don't you believe women have a place in this industry?
I'm just kidding.
Women do have a place in this industry. I've been sitting here promoting female writers and artists for decades. I'm the guy who's been screaming at Marvel to hire Nnedi Okorafor to write X-Men since 2005. It took them 10 or 15 years before they gave her Shuri, the sub character from Black Panther.
Really? I heard that book was horrible.
I have no idea. I haven't looked at it because I'm not interested in the Black Panther universe, to be honest with you.
I need to sit there and watch it.
But
I need to sit there and read it.
But I've read Nnedi's LaGuardia from Dark Horse, and that was enjoyable. That was creator-owned stuff. But again, there's a difference between a person who's a Hugo Award-winning, Nebula Award-winning fantasy fiction author like she is, writing for Marvel and doing the corporate agenda work and doing her own creator-owned stuff too. So I don't know about that.
Well, Emily also bets our wives are old, unhappy spinsters. So.
Oh yeah.
Well,
that's what's a polite way of saying that? Bullshit. That's what it is.
I think where that's coming from is that Randy uses the milkshake comment a little bit too much, and you think that he's anti-milkshake.
I haven't even started the milkshake comments on my videos.
Yeah.
Not even.
Yeah. I mean, it's not an anti-women situation at all. I'm a big fan of Karen Berger's books over there at Dark Horse. Was a big fan of her at DC. I wanted her to take over DC when Jeanette Kahn stepped down rather than Dan DiDio. Good God.
Are you sniffing?
I am. There's a bad smell in the room.
Yeah.
Lim Burger? What? Anyway, don't get me started.
Yeah.
There's always room for talent.
Exactly.
There will always be room for talent in the industry. Doesn't matter what gender you are, what assignment you like, what color your skin is, what your belief system is. There's always room for talent in this industry. The problem is people getting assignments by their ists, their gender, and without having the talent. That's been the big problem at Marvel. This is why everybody wants to start screaming misogyny when they complain that some of these women that are up there. The milkshake thing is an example of the problem, not the solution. There's always room. Look at Ramona Fradon. Look at what's her name?
Simonson, Joe Duffy.
Bless her heart. No. Oh man, I just saw an interview with her too, and it was awesome. I can't remember her name. I'm blanking on her name. Joe Duffy. Well, Marie Severance is a major talent in comics, not just Marvel.
Right.
Oh man, I would have to. Oh, I'm kicking myself for not. She did a 4-issue Wonder Woman that was awesome. female underground artist. That was amazing.
No, I can't think of her name. I know who you're talking about though.
Oh, just a fantastic talent. Yes, Trina Robbins. Absolutely. There's always room. The problem is that there hasn't been enough. You know, there needs to be these people out there that have the talent that kick ass in the market.
Enough or not? It's a question that the people in charge keep blocking and giving themselves work.
Oh no. That's you've got that buddy system that's way overdone. But the big problem is with the milkshake incident in particular, it's the fact that you had all these misogynistic older guys up there at Marvel that had the ability to hire their own assistant editor, and they wanted to brighten up their office instead of hiring somebody with the talent and the capabilities to actually do the job. That's where the big complaints with all the milkshake stuff comes in.
Well, I know that's what the gender the trend of that thing is, but some of those assistant editors actually do know what they're doing. They are. Well,
some of them have learned, some of them have the ability, but take a look at that picture and see how many of them are still up there. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. Yeah. You know, the talent does shift itself out eventually.
Sure.
But
that's true of anybody. I mean,
this business, especially in the mainstream, from once the direct market happened, got to be so misogynistic that quite frankly, those girls wouldn't have their jobs at that point in time, wouldn't have their jobs up there if these guys weren't in that. It's so misogynistic and sexist, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And some of those people didn't deserve what they had. There was a very bad period at Marvel there between Gemus and now, because they're starting to keep an eye on it now, where you had all of these editorial mistakes and misspellings and just goof offs because these people weren't doing their jobs.
And that was true of both men and women there.
That's very true. But and it's only taken diversity in comics and half another YouTube sites for these and all of those people being branded as toxic, like what we were talking about earlier, before Marvel actually started going, maybe we need to do spell check.
Yeah.
They've made a difference. Richard Meyer has made a difference in comics, whether they want to admit it or not, because they are cleaning up. There's big shifts going on up there at the offices now as we speak, because they're realizing their numbers are in the floor or going through the floor.
Randy, this question was directed at you.
I didn't do it.
Say that you supported indie books from CGers, Lone Star, Cyberfrog, Outbreakers. When's the last time you went to your local comic shop and picked up some of the great titles coming from Marvel and DC?
Into my local comic shop?
Yeah.
It's been a long time. The stuff that I read from Marvel and DC, quite frankly, I bought at a hardcore recently was at a hardcore discount from Ollie's because I wanted to see the trash. I'm curious about Immortal Hulk. I'd like to pick that up and see what it's doing, because everybody's talking real positive about it. But a lot of this other stuff I just can't stand. Or I'll go in long enough to read a couple pages and go, that'll be lucky to hit an issue 6.
I will say this, and M3SOZ said, it's just about how the industry is run. He agrees, crush the industry. I will say this, my comic book, like monthly, I was probably paying about $120 a month in comic books, like floppy, issue comics. I mean, I was buying a lot of comics at one point, much to my wife's chagrin, and she was very happy when I cut back, because I wasn't finding the comics interesting, and I just cut back to gradually to now.
So basically, you got about 30 books a month at one point recently, or relatively recently in time. When Randy and I were doing comics at comic shops, we were probably spending $500 when comics were less than $1.
Whew.
And today, I get comics every week at the comic shop. I go every week, but I haven't bought a Marvel book since the Busiek Perez Avengers. I actually bought a Marvel comic. DC, every once in a while they have something. Right now I'm reading House of Whispers. another Black female author is writing that. Nalo Hopkinson, another award-winning science fiction author. A lot of people have been trashing her. Why? Because she's a Black woman? Because she writes outside of comics and isn't one of your fangirl wannabes or something? I don't know. But, that's what I read. And is the stuff that are by writers that don't suck. Pardon my, a little bit loud there, probably with the laugh. But I'd say about 85 to 90% of the stuff I buy right now is nothing but independent creator owned. Because that's what the good stuff is.
Well, I met my wife working at a comic shop, but that was, close to 30 years ago. She bought one of everything that was Marvel and DC superheroes, especially the Vertigo line back when it was running okay.
First launching around that time, yeah.
Yeah. No, she's got more long boxes than I do. And she's a voracious reader. She'll sit and she'll read, a year's worth of comics of a title at night, all in one sitting. She likes reading them all at once.
I believe you told me that. Did you say she doesn't retain it? She reads it and that's it?
No, I retain it. I retain what I read a lot better than she does. Uh-huh. I don't read as much, but I read a lot of stuff and I retain what I read a lot. She, we'll sit there and we'll watch television and be able to pick it apart plot wise. I told her she should play around with writing because she's read so much stuff and she won't do it. And she's got a creative soul. I was very, very fortunate. She reminds me of that very often, that we found each other when we did. But I've looked through a lot of nowadays. She barely buys anything, barely, because it just like me. It all just became. She became totally disinterested with it when it went into the basement, and that wasn't the modern era. That was Gemma's era back in the 2000s. Yeah, back in the 2000s, and she just slowly dwindled down to nothing. And she'll still pick. She tried to pick up the new Vertigo stuff, and she didn't follow that for very long.
M3SOZ says, "I miss the old indie days of black and white. It was like punk rock counterculture."
Yes, it was. There was a whole period there in the mid to late 80s where there was literally kicking ass.
Yeah.
Doing a lot of diverse stuff that you don't see or hear about anymore. When's the last time you heard anybody refer to Fish Police?
About 2004 when IDW reprinted it.
Well, I'm surprised they even did that. That was back when IDW cared. Yeah. Instead of worried so much about doing Netflix properties.
So I have a question.
Unfortunately, the IDW stuff earlier, like Fish Police and Maze Agency, just didn't do very well, even though fans were supposedly demanding it. And I think that has to do more with the attitude of comic book retailers today, more so than the quality of the books.
Maze Agency, yeah, probably the retailers. Maze Agency really didn't hold up anyway, but that's my opinion.
Now I spoke to Randy about it. I'm not sure if I spoke to you about it, Lewis, and I know that the creator in question is watching and is not engaging in the chat, but we have 7 watching now. One of them's M3SOZ and the other one's Ted. Where's Dave the Supreme tonight? Where's Trico? I'm sure they'll probably either come in or they'll come in later and like it.
Even Colleen and Sarah haven't shown up yet tonight.
The situation with a creator is that excuse me, they were recently removed from their label, kicked out of their label. Not their label, but they were signed for public.
They were working with.
Yeah, and it was. I met this creator in 2018 during a convention in May, and I purchased their book. And I
is this a label with a mid-level publisher or a major publisher?
They're all mid-level publishers anymore, Lewis.
Right.
I'm sorry.
That's fine. Okay.
Gotcha. Anyway,
mega corporation publisher versus not so mega corporation publisher.
Got him.
Well, in the words of a wise man, it's not big. It's not how big you are. It's how big they think you are.
It's how big they think you think they are. Yeah. Yep.
But this company is not very big at all. They're a smaller company, but they again they put up a good a good
A reasonable number of books. Okay.
Yeah, and recently they again they cut this creator loose. And I met the creator in 2018 in May. Like I said,
Was he fired or did they walk away?
They were dismissed because they felt that it is. They went and they printed their book.
Oh,
they printed their book because the publisher of the book has told all the talent that they call it convention assistance, the convention assistance program, where you can buy your comics, your property that you're having published through them. You can buy the printings of the book through them for a discounted price to take to conventions, like convention support.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to pay for it. But you pay a discounted rate, so like you pay like $3.50 a book, and then you could charge $5. And they said nuts to that. There are people who felt you there.
Yeah.
Okay. There are people who felt like that's insane for a publisher to charge their talent for the books.
Unfortunately, that's a
what do they want them to do? Just give it to them?
Well, I think that they said, well, I'll just go print my own books, and the publisher said you can't do that, and that's
it depends on the contract. Probably they cannot without breaking legal.
Yeah, was that the person that you sent me the text on?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's been some more problems because people are saying, well, the publisher works at the printing company, and the idea is the publisher is getting a sweet deal on printing, so they're making money twice. They're making money on the creators.
Mm-hmm.
The creators have to raise the book to make money on markup. So this person is making a lot of money. So yeah,
middleman does. So I mean,
is it dirty? Is it fair play? What's going on here, guys? What's your take?
That's the business. I mean, that's how it's structured. You should know that. I mean, anybody who's working the printing and distribution side is where most of the money is going to be made in this, not at the creative or at the retail end. And so if there's a guy who's publishing and he's got a sweetheart deal with the publisher, or he is the printer himself, because there are people who are both in this industry, then yeah, that's you that walking in, or at least you should. And so again, it depends on what this individual's contract would read, assuming there's a contract, because some of these times people don't get their contracts written out. There's ways of doing things that, if you're dismissed and it's a creator-owned project, then there should be a clause in his contract that reverts the rights back to him automatically if he did his contract right. Otherwise, you don't do business with that person.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting for copies of the contract to be sent to me, so I can take a look at it. But I can tell you this: the other thing that came out of this, was that this creator was just told, I guess today, was like, hey, can I, get my money? You've been selling my book since 2000, early 2018. I just made this print order of like 50, 60, 70, 100 books or whatever to sell for conventions. Can I get my monies that are due? And they were told, you violated the contract, which they say there's nothing in the contract that states they can't print their own books. But the publisher said, no money for you.
Well, again, I'd have to see the contract. I'm not a legal expert by any means, but I've had to deal with a variety of publishers who have done kind of questionable things, and it's that's a situation where
That's what you call sour grapes. They need to
Yeah.
cut their losses and move on.
mostly, yeah.
And we had that discussion last week when you were asking me questions. I'd never get myself into that situation because I'd self-publish right off the bat. Because then you know who to blame when something goes wrong.
Yeah, I don't want to get into my history with a couple of publishers. I actually ended up sending a guy to jail for 2 years for breach of contract. So, that was fun, but I lost 2 years of work as a result of that. So,
Yeah, that's it.
Contracts are a mess, and anymore it's easier just to self-publish and crowdfund.
it is now, yes.
Build an audience, crowdfund, self-publish, start your own publishing company.
Right, but what I'm talking about was long time ago, like 02, 03.
Oh yeah.
So,
Man, I can't tell you how many near misses I've had with companies that for one reason or another, I was going to hook up with them, and then the deal fell through and no contracts were signed. And then later on that company just went to crap.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a lot of missed that one.
That wasn't the situation with Joe Monk Studios, was it?
No.
I didn't think so.
Joe's awesome. Joe,
Yeah,
I still talk to Joe and Pam to this day. I did a lot of work for them.
Yeah, I know you did, but I
Traveled with them. That was all good. That wasn't a problem.
Sweet.
I've had good, and again, I've had good companies too, but those companies are very rare. Joe and Pam, one of the rare ones.
Yeah.
That I've had. But I learned early on that I can't work for, a lot of these people. When I was pitching stuff to Marvel, it was like done, and that was 2003, because these people were idiots. And I couldn't deal with the editors.
It would be like they'd reject you and then hand your ideas off to their staff writers and let them do their crappy versions of it.
Yeah, well, I didn't catch that as much as just the fact that these people didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
And that's long before, what anyone would consider to be the modern age. That was the guys who trained the guys who are now in that modern age.
All right.
Right now, yeah.
Yeah.
Last mean question.
Really? You're not going to ask any more mean questions?
Yeah. Well, last mean. I don't know if it's a question or more of a statement, but I need reactions. Randy, these I think were.
I still don't understand where that person thought that we didn't want women in the doing comics.
Because we're men.
That just seems silly to me.
Yeah. That was wow.
I hate to. I'm sorry if I even gave that impression. There's plenty of room out there for talent.
I love the reaction I got from both of you while reading the question. Yeah. I didn't do. There was instant outrage. It was great.
One of my favorite artists is Ramona Fradon. Holy crap, she's awesome.
Yeah, that's just it. We would love to see more women in the business.
I just want to read more awesome stuff.
Exactly.
I don't care where the viewpoint comes from. Just show me a book that I can lose myself in, be entertained by, and just sit there and be marvel at the art. No pun intended.
I figured it out. I think I know where this one came from. So, says this question. You fucking, I'm sorry. CG.
Try not to. Oh, are we back to the?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're C-suckers. Okay.
We're effing CGers.
Yeah.
Okay.
You effing CGers.
You effing CGers
are the reason.
Use your angry voice. Use your angry voice.
Okay. Well, that's my pervert voice. Wait a minute. Oh.
That's your pervert voice. That goes back to your porn career.
You fucking CGers are the reason.
No, you don't have to swear. Holy crap.
Okay.
Just use your mean voice.
You CGers are the reason LCSs are closing down.
No, the reason the retailers are closing down is because they don't carry jack squat.
Well, it goes on. It goes on.
Yeah. Let's hear the whole comment.
Taking all the money out of mainstream for your own personal Nazi war chest.
Oh my goodness! Of course.
War chest.
Randy, Randy, behind that,
I don't have to understand shit. Anyway, go ahead.
behind-
Sorry, we weren't going to swear. It's after 10, though. It's all good.
yeah, Randy, behind that that brown sheet there. Is there a war chest there?
Is there a what?
Is there a war chest behind that brown sheet?
No, dude, that's all. My war chest is in the bank, and it didn't come from directly from the comics mainstream. That's for sure.
Are you hiding cougarans over there, Lewis?
I beg your pardon?
Are you hiding any cougarans over there?
No.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
There's nothing funnier than a response.
That came from Mike A.
Oh yeah, okay. There's nothing. I was gonna say there's nothing funnier than a dimwit response from a weirdo who doesn't know the market, doesn't know the business, has absolutely no experience, probably doesn't buy the half of the comics that I buy, let alone a third of the comics what Lewis buys. You know, or has printed anything in the market, but automatically we're all CGers and we're Nazis because we're talking positively about CG products that we think are awesome. They're quality books.
The thing is, Randy, you've been speaking about the CG products. I haven't said a word about anything related to CG.
That's probably because you haven't invested in them.
That's right, I haven't, and that's not saying that it's good or bad. It's just not particularly to my personal interests and tastes, that particular content. There's other stuff, and hopefully later on tonight we're going to get to some of the stuff I like.
Good Lord, Varian, have you seen Star Blades?
I did.
Kyle, what's his name? Ritter?
Yeah.
Posted the first page on that. The content, you know, people with big blades coming out all over their bodies is not something that I, you know, run out and want to read all the time.
Yeah.
But that book I'm going to be investing in just to look at the coloring.
Okay.
Because he knows his stuff and he's really good.
Right.
Randy.
But anyway, what?
You're by doing this, you're supplying the war chest, the Nazi war chest.
Sure. Yeah. Nazi war chest. Yeah. Again, it's a dimwit weirdo response to people who don't know anything about, don't want to. Yeah. These are the people that throw up the wall that say, I don't have to understand shit. These people are taking money away from the local comic shops. The mainstream market is taking money away from the local comic shops. And I'm going to do a video where it's on my list about exactly how disrespectful Marvel has always been to the LCSs. I mean, just totally disrespectful. And yet they still follow along behind them with their nose up Marvel's butt.
How about disrespectful these questions are becoming?
That's just, like I said, that's just a weirdo question. Needs to be called out as a weirdo question. Somebody who is an anti-CGer who doesn't want to take time to actually do the research or look or have any type of an open mind about these guys.
It doesn't even have to be CG comics. That's the thing. There's so much out there in Kickstarter land and Indiegogo land that doesn't have anything to do with CG.
Kickstarter, if you're lucky.
So, you know, why even make a remark about that if you don't like?
It's just a closed-minded idiot.
Exactly. If you don't want to support CG stuff, that's fine. Go support and come to me and talk to me about something that isn't a CG independent comic that you want me to look at. This
guy probably barely, if he buys comics, he probably barely, and I'm using guy as a non-gender specific term here, who probably spends, like I said, less money at a comic shop than you or I do. Mm-hmm. You know, who might maybe pick up a comic. He just knows that the LCSs are hurting. Well, the LCSs are hurting not because of these CG. The CG money, the crowdfunding money is coming all out of people that have given up on modern mainstream, well, not given up, but are fed up with modern mainstream comics that are looking for quality stuff to be entertained with. That's where that money is coming from. It's not Nazism. It's not I got to support the right wing. Yes, there is some of that in there, but that percentage is incredibly small.
You effing CGers are the reason LCSers are closing, taking all the money out of mainstream for your own personal Nazi war chest.
And again, this guy doesn't know the market. He doesn't know what Diamond has done what the direct market is all about, what the LCSs have to put up with in order to even get product into the stores. You know, it's
That's just the Diamond product. And
it's an uneducated response. It's an uneducated commentary. Yes,
Yep.
totally uneducated.
You know, people need to understand that Diamond's entire catalog, that entire inch and a half thick catalog every week, or every month rather, only represents about 10% of all comics that are produced in North America. The rest of us are either print on demand or digital exclusives, basically because Diamond, Marvel, and DC don't want us there because they're afraid we're going to kill their market share if we're there on an equal platform. So, you know, what can you do when you say, well, you're killing the retail market, you're killing the local comic shop? Well, the local comic shop has had 20 years to stop being Steve Geppe's personal slave slut brigade and open up
close to 30 years.
Yeah, exactly. Closer to 30 years now, to have alternative distribution channels for all the rest of us. And they have basically turned their noses up and said, we don't want it because the only thing that matters is Marvel and DC. Well, if you want to be Marvel and DC,
did you say
I was told by a Diamond rep a long time ago. This was probably late 90s at a Chicago con. Diamond rep that we tracked down in an elevator because we were so fed up with these people. This is back when I was printing Arrow 3.0. He told us everybody in the green section that Diamond just wanted to dry up and blow away. That was his exact terms. Oh, there's a war chest right there. You're being funny now, Varian. Yeah, they wanted us to dry up and blow away, and they kept creating new hoops and new levels that we couldn't obtain in order to drain us out of the business. And I had Diamond screw with me so much that I just got fed up and left. That's why I started the paper, and it wasn't the LCSs, because believe me, that paper stayed alive for 10 years. Thanks to the generosity of the LCSs, or my local comic shops. And my local comic shops would tell me over and over again that they figured that my audience, that there was a good 85% of the people picking up that paper who had never walked into their shop before. They had customers come in off of that paper. So don't tell me that, you know, we don't support the local comic shops. Any way that you can get your comics is important. You know, and again, this guy probably doesn't read Alterna Comics or any of those books either. So, you know, there are people out there who are desperately trying to survive in this market, and a lot of them are thriving, and it's all completely despite Diamond, because Diamond doesn't want us there. You know, you still there, Varian?
I am.
You're digging up another picture of a war chest? That's a pirate chest, buddy.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't find a good war chest.
No, you didn't Bing it?
Well, you should have got a picture of Tank Girl with her war chest.
Randy talked about support. Lewis, you have a few books you said you wanted to talk about?
Absolutely. What do you want to start with? Gladstone School for World Conquerors?
Go ahead.
You guys want to start with Gladstone School for World Conquerors?
Gladstone
School for World Conquerors.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, well, here we go. This is Gladstone School for World Conquerors, and it is by Mark Andrew Smith and Armand Villiard. Originally, it was published by Image several years ago for a miniseries, and then it got cut because, well, Image didn't want to support them anymore. So they went into the Kickstarter mode.
Well, that's not how Image works, but go ahead.
Well, right. Anyway, they started doing these books a few years ago, and I just got the most recent one, the third volume. But I'm going to show you all three. This is the book, and it's basically about these teenage kids who are the children of supervillains. And in the first book, they are so annoyed that their parents are always getting beaten up by the superheroes that they decide to go after one of the villains, and they end up actually killing him. And it starts off a chain reaction of all kinds of adventures for them. I'm going to start opening up here. Sign some good artwork. Whoops. Sorry about that. Got canceled here.
Now, how many pages is that book?
It doesn't have a number on it, but it's probably about 6 issues, or probably about 150 pages on the first issue.
Hold up the spine. Hold up the book, will you, Lewis? Higher. Hold it up higher. You're talking. I'm not hearing you.
Yeah. You don't see it higher?
No, I want to see the spine. All right, turn it sideways.
This way?
No. Turn. Point the top. Point the top at me.
Oh, point the top.
Point the top to the camera. Wrong way.
Other way. The page is toward him.
Oh, this way?
Yes. No. Shut the book.
There we go.
It's shut.
Turn it the other way.
You want this way?
I want to see how many pages.
How many?
Please stop playing. Just turn the book. There you go.
That's the front cover.
Yeah, he wants to see the pages, like the interior pages. They turn them. Yeah.
Oh my God. I want to see how thick the book looks.
It's about 3/4 of an inch thick.
I want to see how. Hang on. I'm looking at the chat feed. No, I don't want to see the spine, Lewis.
You said the spine.
Yeah. The pages, like the. So close the book.
I see the spine. I want to see how thick the hardcover is compared to the page count.
Yeah, there we go. It's like that.
There we go.
I
Now.
did that twice.
All right, that looks good. But how thick are the pages?
Good stock pages. You know, they're pretty thick. Probably 85 to 90. Well, I wouldn't say 85 pounds, but 75, 80 pound thickness probably on a good glossy.
Is it
stock.
slick?
Yeah, it's slick glossy stock.
Yeah. Okay. We're looking at heavy cover stock, probably a 895.
Yeah,
maybe 100 pound.
Yeah.
So there's probably 100 pages.
Oh no, there's 6 issues worth of story in there. I know that.
Now, do you? How much that
probably?
Pardon?
I'm sorry.
We're probably looking at 120 pages then.
Yeah, 120 to 144 pages, and it was $25.
Now, do you have to get that online?
Yes, I had to buy it through Kickstarter.
Okay.
And actually, I got the first 2 books through Amazon after the Kickstarter, and the 3rd book I just got through the Kickstarter.
Okay.
Directly from Armand, the artist. And this book, again, is the 2nd book. And now they have to try and save the world because they screwed up when they killed their the superhero, because he's one of the guys that can stop a real threat that was going to come destroy the world. So now they are on a quest to get different parts of an armor that's going to be able to help them defeat the new crisis, the new threat.
Huh. Okay.
Now the art book style is kind of that modern manga type stuff in a way, but I find it to be very relatable to younger audiences, and people who are fans of the Naruto and fans of old school teen comic books like Teen Titans, New Mutants type stuff from the 80s would probably enjoy this book.
The art looks nice. And how long has it been out?
Well, originally they came out, probably about 7 years ago is when the original releases from Image came out.
The paperbacks for the first volume was out in November of 2011.
2011? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it's been a long time that they've been around, but
book 2 hardcover was 2016.
Right.
So they haven't been around for a whole long.
Yeah, and then this book, which is the newest one, just came out. And this is Volume 3, Scorpio Kane.
All right, number 3 was January 2011.
No. This is the volume, the brand new.
Oh, that's the Image comic. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Image comic. This is brand new. Just came out. Just got it last week.
Looks pretty good. Now,
And it is, let me see what year it is real quick, if I can find it on here.
2018 Scorpion King.
Scorpio Kane.
Scorpio Kane. Yeah, it's 200 pages.
Yeah, 200 pages.
That's a nice page count.
25 bucks still?
$25.
Okay.
Yep.
So why do you think we've never heard of this before?
Why do I think no one's ever heard of it that much before?
Yeah.
Well, I think part of it is just that Mark, who's also done, I think he did, what's the name of it? Joy Buzzards for Image and a few other books, but I think it's mostly because Mark hasn't been an Image Marvel DC pop star more than anything else. Because a lot of these retailers don't support content like this when it's a standalone title, and I don't care what publisher it's from, unless there's somebody that they can market, cross-pollinate through multiple publishers and get multiple books sold.
Well, it's hard for a fresh title to get any type of standing.
That's true. And the thing is, though, and we see it trending a lot in today's industry, if anybody does get successful, they're immediately doing spin-off books off the same content to build that brand. Otherwise, they flop out, and they just didn't have enough time to build a brand before Image, and they parted ways.
Well, again, that's not how Image works. They probably couldn't keep their title running at Image because they didn't get the visibility.
Yeah.
Because they either couldn't get out there and marketed fast enough in order to get supported by those LCSs. That's why they probably jumped up to Kickstarter in order to get funded.
That's part of it. But that, you could turn around and say the same thing for my next book that I'm trying to pull out of the bag. You know who Carl Kiesel is.
Uh-huh.
And you've heard of Section Zero.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Section Zero was part of Guerrilla Comics back around, what was that, 99 or 2000?
Yeah.
And that book got canceled because they didn't get their investors didn't deliver, I guess, is what happened initially. I don't remember the exact history there. But they had to go for like 18 years before they went to Kickstarter with Carl and Tom.
Now, while you're pulling that next book out, do you think Gladstone's would have made a mark in Scholastic at all?
Actually, I think it could have.
Or the libraries?
I think it can, yes.
Because it's obviously looks like it's aimed at a younger audience.
Yeah, I think it's a great book for what it is. I mean, I think that, we see so many people that are complaining about where are the fun superhero teen comics? All these books that are expanded upon and we can't afford them all and everything. I'm like, well, here's your alternative right here, but they're not in the stores. And the reason, and this was even when it was coming out at Image, I'd be like, well, why didn't you get this? Well, nobody asked for it, would always be the retailer's response. And it's like, you can't just order strictly what people ask for, because a lot of the fans out there don't know what's out there. They even in the catalogs, not everybody buys the previews catalog and looks through it. It's our job as retailers to be ambassadors to the medium.
Yep. Before you jump into that next book, M3SOZ is asking why Diamond, since Diamond's a monopoly, why are they illegal? Or why aren't they illegal? They got passed through the courts. They convinced some judge that because they distribute comics and there are other, or not comics, since they distribute magazines and there are other magazine distributors out there, obviously Diamond wasn't a monopoly, which wasn't exactly true. Somebody needs to take that up to a higher court. I don't know why that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, that's basically, it was the technicality of comics or magazines, which again, they're going to even do the thing now. If we were to argue with graphic novels, they would say, well, there's plenty of other book distributors other than Diamond. Why don't you go through them? And, part of the thing is with that is we as an industry allowed ourselves to be subverted. Subverted isn't the right word. Pigeonholed into the direct market.
M3SOV Diamond isn't publishing at the moment that I'm aware of. They used to print Gladstone Comics that did a lot of Disney reprints, but I don't think they're printing anything on their own anymore. They're strictly a distributor.
I don't want to cut you off, Louis, but I want to add something to Randy's point. This year, got a notice from my son's school that they had dropped Scholastic as their book partner.
Yeah.
They went to another company that believes in a more holistic and challenging.
Well, Scholastic's having some problems, Varian. I know for a fact that they even closed down the Scholastic book distribution warehouse here in Columbia.
Did they?
Yeah, so there's other stuff going on there. They may have said holistic or whatever, but I think it has more to do with Scholastic downsizing.
Yeah, they got another company in there that, I mean, they got books. I was a little upset they don't send the little Scholastic register. They
Right.
used to. My son used to love that because they, scan the credit card and it was a little cool little book, a little red and yellow cash register or something. But I remember being a kid and getting, and going through the Scholastic, little, leaflet they would send, and they're picking out the books you wanted, and it's how I got a couple of books. I Know What You Did Last Summer, the book, before they made a movie out of it, and I would get comics and trade paperbacks and stuff.
Well, not to go back on anything right now for Scholastic, but I just wanted to, for Varian and Mark's sake, because I know they're going to be watching. If you're interested in what you just saw, viewers, you go to, I believe it's called GladstoneSchool.com, but I'll check real quick to make sure I've got the right site.
And I if I can add it in here, I'll add it in the comments too.
They're also all available on Amazon.
Right. It's at GladstoneSchool.com.
But definitely get it from the publisher if you can.
Absolutely.
You might even be able to talk them into a signed edition. They probably sell one for maybe a slightly higher fee.
Yeah.
That's the way you support these creators.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put a link to it if I can here.
Yeah, but
Can throw a link in the chat.
Yeah,
I know you can do that.
And and again, it is very important to the publishers. And then if you do decide to pick up one, and you picked it up from him, maybe drop them a line, let them know that you saw their book on Indie Vault, YouTube. Let them know that seen it here, and that you
need to get a hookup with Amazon, Varian.
Yeah,
you can get some of that, a little bit of kickback money on that.
That sweet referral cash, right?
Yep, referral cash. Doesn't hurt. Doesn't hurt.
What's funny is that we have the watch hours to be monetized.
The what?
We have the watch hours to be monetized. We just don't have the subscribers.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had that back with the on the ZimmGeek channel with our comics kitty trash. I got thanks to your Indie Vault connection there, I got a couple of thousand people on that.
And I really want to get back to that. So that's why I'm retooling the radio station right now, doing a couple of things to it that it's going to make it a little bit bigger than it was. A little bit better. Not so much bigger, but better.
I off topic probably, but I stumbled across an internet radio station on my radio app that plays nothing but old science fiction dramas. And it sounds like Star Trek episodes made for the deaf, or not the deaf, but made for the blind, because they'll go through and they'll describe, what was on the screen during the episode when nobody's talking, and then they'll play the regular soundtrack with all of the sound effects and the dialogue by the actors. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Lewis.
Yes.
Now you've got you just showed us Gladstones.
Yes.
And now you got that from Kickstarter.
I got the first 2 books off of Amazon.
Okay,
and then I saw the 3rd book on Kickstarter, and it was already funded. So I basically went directly to Armand Villavert, who is the artist, and contacted him on Facebook and got it directly from him.
Are they getting more than their funding requests on Kickstarter?
Yes, they have. They have always exceeded their.
Well, they should. It's a quality book.
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm.
There was some.
They're going to be expanding. Actually, they're going to start doing some spin-off books for each of the individual characters with additional artists and creators writing and drawing. So.
I was like I was telling you last week or so, Varian, these people aren't starting crowdfunding books. They're crowdfunding companies.
Mm-hmm.
All these people. You know, anybody that's exceeding their goals, you're going to see multiple books come out of these companies.
And then I'm gonna ask you both one question, and then I'll let you get to your next book real quick.
Oh, no problem.
Let's just say, and I never asked myself this question because I'll go on for hours about it, but let's just say that you both own comic book shops, brick and mortar comic book shops.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You're both in the shit right now. Okay.
Both in the shit. Okay. What is that supposed to mean exactly?
You know,
You're both in trouble.
Yeah, you're both in trouble. Do you say, okay, let me purchase some of these indie books that are making $800,000 on Indiegogo? Let me purchase a bulk lot of them and put them in my store. Let me start searching alternative methods. Let me get a couple issues of Jawbreakers in the store.
Well, first off, I would have already had about 2/3 to 3/4 of my material would be independence. I would not be focusing on marketing Marvel and DC content. Not because Marvel and DC content is bad, but because Marvel and DC content is already marketed at the wazoo. You've got your TV shows, you've got your movies, you've got, all that. I don't need to market this content. Anybody who wants this content knows it exists, knows they want it. So they're going to come in and ask for it. What I need to be marketing if I'm running a shop is all the stuff that people don't know about so that they can see just how cool comics actually are and what we can offer that you cannot get in other medium format. So that's the first thing I would be doing is having all that content. So it wouldn't even be an issue of being so-called in the shit, as you said, because hopefully if I'm doing my job right, I'm marketing all this other content to other audiences. Another thing I would be doing if I was running a comic shop is I would be doing like what my mother did. My mother used to run a toy store in Savannah, Georgia back in the 70s to around 82. And she was a major buyer for not just her store, but the entire chain of 27 stores. That was part of the Toy City brand. And she ordered 5,000 to 6,000 units of every single comic from every single publisher there was at that time. This is before the direct market was really formed.
Is that how you got hooked?
Not really, but I'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah.
But what she would do is she would go on her lunch breaks to different local businesses like barber shops and local restaurants that weren't the chain stores. Because back then, you might remember, well, you're a little bit younger than us, so you might not remember, but Randy probably remembers this. They used to have the glasses for Star Trek and Star Wars for when in association with the movies, or they'd have other different toys related to TV shows or movies. She would take the comics and say, I'll give them to you at cost that you can give them with your kids' meals at these local family established restaurants. Mm-hmm. So that parents would bring their kids to the home cooked meal, so to speak, restaurant and get their comic, and it would be in a bag and a boarded courtesy of Toy City with her address. And the parents would come back to the store and get more comics and toys related to the comics. That's what you have to do today. You don't just sit there and tell your publishers, hey, you need to market comics better. You need to put a commercial out, 1-800-COMICS locator. No, you have to do this marketing. You're the marketing force and the sales force for our medium. That's your responsibility. It's our responsibility to aid you in that. And if a publisher is responsible enough, they will. But it's not solely our responsibility to build you a market for you. It's not you build it and we'll come. It's not a field of dreams, folks. That's what I would say as far as, how I would run a comic shop.
And Randy, you ran a comic shop for a while, but if it was your store, your decisions, are you putting those books or these books in your store right now?
The independent books or the CG books or what?
Yep, the CG books and like Gladstones.
I'd be very cautious. Well, Gladstones I probably would, but I'd be really cautious about any book that would go in. I would be doing my best to get around Diamond as often as possible, though, just to just because that's just where the profit margin is going to be, is away from Diamond. And there's a lot of these publishers out there are starting to deal more directly with the local comic shops. and they're happy to do so. And the comic shops are happy to take it on. Alterna, I know, is one of them. He's got a whole chain of stores that he deals with. He just had a guy on Samedi yesterday, I believe it was, had a guy middle of the afternoon. He had a live chat with a guy from Texas who had his own local comic shop.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a good discussion.
Yeah,
he talked about what sold, what didn't sell.
Yeah, Peter's doing a very good job at marketing Alterna, I think.
He's got a hunger, and he's really making a difference, not just with his comic shop, or not just with his comics, but with the whole industry. And people just have to listen. That's the problem.
He's changing the discussion, and you need to listen.
One of my mother's favorite episodes, Randy, is when I ask you, what would you do if you were in charge of Marvel today? And my mother loves the fact that you said that you would hire someone to sit there, and their entire job is to call Diamond every day.
Yeah.
And hassle them.
And give them, especially if I was Marvel. Heck yeah. Hey, what have you done for me today? Excelsior. How many of my books are you moving? Come on, what's your problem?
My mother loved that part. She thought that was very funny.
Forget triple shipping, Iceman. Number one, quadruple it. 10 for one. Ship them out.
But what did Joker say
down there?
What did Joker say in Batman 1989? We're taking him out a whole new door. When he's in the factories and the Axe chemicals factory.
We'll take him out a whole new door. Yeah.
Ship them all. We'll take them out a whole new door.
These people up there have run, like we said earlier, have run the business for 30 years. They got so complacent and so pigeonholed with their demographics. I mean, when I was doing Arrow, we started out doing recognizable titles, thinking that the retailers are going to pick up extra copies to put them up on the shelf. Wonderland, War of the Worlds, Oz. Everybody knows what Wonderland, what War of the Worlds, and what Oz are. I started out the company with that, intentionally thinking that the retailers will order a couple extra copies to throw up on their shelves because everybody knows what these titles are. That never happened. In fact, we always had retailers coming back at us going, I ordered 5 and I received 3. What the hell's wrong with you?
And that was because Diamond lied to Randy and delivered orders that were lower than what the retailers actually ordered.
We're almost positive they were cutting our purchase orders by 20-25%.
Oh, I proved that, Randy. I did an article expose for Steve Jackson Games' Comic Book Life in 2002 about that, and not just with Arrow's books, but with 12 or 15 different independent publishers.
Now, okay, I got to ask you both then. What does Diamond get out of doing that?
They get rid of us.
They get rid of us, and they're courting favor from their corporate masters, Marvel and DC. Because you got to remember, DC owned a piece of Diamond for a while. And I don't know if DC still owns a piece of Diamond, but they did before Marvel bought out Heroes World.
Now, did they? So now,
that's the first I've heard of. I'm not aware of DC owning any part of Diamond. I thought Jeppy owned it free and clear.
Jeppy owned most of the controlling interest, but I think there was some non-controlling interest that DC had in Diamond, if I remember correctly.
Now,
I could be wrong, but that's how I remember it.
Now, seeing how things have gone, now, do you think Diamond kind of hates they made that decision? Like, I mean, because it seems that they're now, they care about the green section all of a sudden.
No,
they don't care about the green section. No,
there are some people that they do and some people that they don't, but mostly they're at such a bottom level on their profit margins. Diamond is that they're looking at any straw, at any hope to try to throw a little bit more income their way. That's why some of these independent publishers are getting any type of notice. That and the fact that there seems to be a little manipulation on the collectability side of the market on some of these guys. So-and-so in New York decides that such and such a title is worth your time, and everybody and their brother wants to all of a sudden collect it and throw it up on eBay or whatever. And some of these publishers are adding, or doubling their print runs because of it. It's all fake interest. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We used to have that crap used to happen all the time back in the 80s, only it was more prevalent. You know, people, they're trying to manipulate the market. That's what I want to say. The collectability market.
Randy, you know, I make jokes about it now. You know, you if the Blue Water Bridge, they want to sell it. If Randy buys, he's gonna burn it. Randy, have you burned your diamond bridges?
I don't know. Probably not.
I
would, if I restart Arrow Comics, it'd be interesting to see how I would be treated. I wouldn't expect to be treated very nicely. I've yelled at a couple of reps, if that's what you mean. The last one, kind of got it was a couple years ago. Anyway, I was doing a paper.
Louis, you did an expose for the which paper was it again?
Comic Book Life e-zine, electronic magazine for Steve Jackson Games. That was back in 2001 or 2002 when I did that article.
Is that something that's online that we can run a link to?
I wish it was. Steve Jackson Games has pulled that off line now for the archives, unfortunately.
You don't have a copy of it yourself?
If I do, I can't find it.
Well, if you do find it, we want to read it.
Absolutely.
But I have a question. Do you think that you've burned bridges at Diamond?
I've never relied on Diamond. When I started doing comics, before I worked with Caliber and then later with Randy and other companies, I started doing self-publishing out of my college dorm room at Central Michigan University and was self-distributing. And I was distributing to businesses based, like I told you, with what my mom did. I went to comic shops. They're like, well, we don't want you because you're black and white or you're the wrong size format or whatever. I said, okay, I'll go to the music store next door to you and sell it there. I'll go to the used bookstore over here and sell it there. I'll go to arts and crafts shops. I'll go to the smoke shop, where they sell the bongs. I don't care. Whoever wants to do business, I'll do business with.
Mm-hmm.
And I sold not just my books, but we had a whole group at Central Michigan University called the Comic Artists Press Alliance of Central Michigan University. We had 27 books between 22 members of the group from 92 to 94, 95. I left in 94. It continued until 95. And we averaged between 6,000 and 7,000 units, just basically ourselves out of our dorm room. So we didn't need Diamond's approval, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
And so I've never really relied on Diamond. In fact, outside of a few books for Arrow and the stuff I inked for Marvel, nothing I've worked on for any publisher, Slave Labor, Graphics, Ronin Studios, Caliber, any of these independents, none of them ever sold as well as the stuff I did on my own. So that just proved to me that either Diamond was a failure in doing what they were supposed to be doing, or the retailers were.
I want to,
and I hate that, but that's just how, that was my takeaway from it back then.
This reminds me of something. Years ago, my first publishing company that I started, which was a colossal failure because I didn't know what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
A gentleman came to visit me, and I don't want to put him on blast, so I'm not gonna say his name. But he came to visit me, and he said, "Hey, I think I told Randy this off air before, but he said my comic strip has been published and has over 80,000 readers," which I got super excited about. I'm like, "Wow, your comic strip is 80,000 people?" Well, and he was like, I want to do it as a comic, and I want to publish it to your company. And I'm like, well, that's awesome, because if you have 80,000 people reading your comic, this means that I'll be able to tap into those 80,000 people and turn them into fans of, my material, right?
That's speaking, but you got to know how to market it.
Well, so he hadn't came up to the office yet.
Mm-hmm.
So he comes to the office, and things quickly take a turn.
Mm-hmm.
Because when he comes to the office, he brings in a Xerox copy of a newspaper.
Okay.
It looks like his comic, like haphazardly, was Xeroxed onto the paper. It's like he drew it, cut it out, and laid it over that.
Did it over and did a fake thing.
Yeah, and Xeroxed it in. He didn't bring the actual paper,
Right.
but he's like, here it is. And on top of that, it was a college paper that they give to all the students for free.
Right.
So even if his ad was legit or his strip was legit in that paper, it's like, well,
it's a free audience. They're not paying for it. So how is that going to correlate to purchased readers? Is what you're thinking?
Well, I was like, okay, well, but then he really wanted me to. It was funny because he had his book ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
He had his book ready to go, and he had as I read the script, I'm like, well, okay, the book is here, the book is finished, it's colored, and the weird thing about it is that the book he used. I have never seen Cannonball Run. Don't yell at me. I've never seen.
10 years younger.
Don't yell at you for never seeing Cannonball Run.
Yeah.
This shows how young you are.
But one of the guys in the office, an older guy, he was reading it, and he says, "Hey, he's using names from Cannonball Run." I don't think he should do this. Captain Cannonball or something like that.
It's better than using Mr. Janus. Hugh. I'm sure you've seen that.
Yeah.
The blooper with Hugh Janus.
So basically, you're saying he might have been doing copyright violations. Okay.
Well, yeah. So in the contract we had, I simply drafted him a new contract, and I said, because we hadn't signed the contract yet, and I said, listen, if in fact, they take issue with this. I was already upset because one thing he asked me to do was, again, like I said, when he came to me, he brought me the comic as well that he had already done.
Right.
And his wife had colored it in Microsoft Paint, which was phenomenal. It wasn't a good coloring job, but the fact that she did it in Microsoft Paint was phenomenal.
At least it wasn't magic markers.
Yeah.
And you would force anyway.
And she brought it to me.
Yeah, Brandy. Oh, come on, man.
And she says, and he tells me, he says, well, could you pay my wife for coloring it? And I'm like, I don't understand. Pay my wife for coloring the book. I'm like, but the book's already colored. He wanted me to retroactively go back and pay his wife for coloring his book. But the contract, I simply stated, look, dude, I'm not, if they decide to sue you, I have a choice in the matter of whether I want to jump into the lawsuit to help you defend it or walk away. And he didn't like that at all. And he told me
you want plausible deniability and separation in the case of a lawsuit. Okay.
Right. And I had a lawyer at the time who suggested I do that.
Yes, that makes logical sense, Varian.
And he didn't like that at all. But he told me, he said, well, that's why I'm publishing, a paper, and you'll never be in a paper. Right? So I didn't get to tell Randy this. I've always meant to tell Randy this. So about 6 months ago, I took copies of Flip comics that I had, and I got them in a nice bundle, and I put them in a Gemini mailer, a Tipsy strip, and I mailed it to that son of a bitch. Because I'm like, oh, by the way, I'm publishing a paper now. So yeah, I meant to tell you that, Randy, and he hasn't responded. He did block me on Facebook though. I can't see his profile.
Blocked you on Facebook?
Yeah, I can't see his profile anymore. He's there. Yeah. My wife can see him. I can't. But
okay, yeah. Whatever.
Yeah.
My next video is instructional, but the one after that will be all about Flint Comics.
Okay.
Ode to a Funny Book Paper. That's the title of it.
And real quick, and then we're gonna get to,
that'll be number 19, I believe.
We're gonna get to Lewis's next book, but real quick, you guys made a joke, and I felt like it was an inside joke, and I was left out.
For what?
The marker situation.
Yeah.
I told you that story.
Yeah, there was a book from Caliber Comics called UN Force. That was,
it wasn't really Caliber. Well, it was Caliber, but it was Gauntlet. Gauntlet Comics. Right. It was under the Gauntlet title. I was set up to do a superhero team. Gary had asked me to do a superhero team. I was sat there and developed it out, got a penciler for it, did everything else on it. We were ready to go, but there was another book ahead of that that, and Gary at the time had a Walmart deal. And this was before the Marvel Ultimate stuff sprung up.
Was it Marvel or
quite a ways before that? What?
Was it Walmart or Myers?
No, it was Walmart.
Okay.
It was Walmart. I was going to be the second title. The title before that went through the Walmarts. This was before Photoshop coloring. The title before that got circulated through the Walmarts, and the guys actually colored it with magic markers. In order to, they did their initial coloring with magic markers, and then they shot it, and it was a disaster.
Dear Lord.
And it died on the vine, and my book ended up being shit can, all because they couldn't keep that one, the previous product out there, and Walmart lost interest in the deal real quick because they weren't selling. But I still got that
property.
That property that was in Zim's Heroic Tales. That was in Zim's Heroic Tales. That explained all about that.
Yep.
And
the new breed was my property. I sat there with the Saurus, but right after I had met my wife, the deal was going through. It's 30 years ago. I mean, it's like I said, it was before Photoshop. Just as Walmarts were really gaining a foothold into the market industry, they were looking at doing a lot of stuff on their own. It's still a product I'm really proud of, but it's one that nobody's ever seen.
Hardly anybody has ever seen.
One of many. Anyway,
I was hoping that someone would ask me about my agenda. By the way,
agenda and addresses. At least it's not a feminine agenda.
So that's why they think we don't like women, Randy.
A feminist agenda.
Yeah. Lewis, what's the next book you got for us?
That's a joke back to a Mockingbird Marvel title. Anyway,
I have that book.
It's not meant to be it's not because we're misogynist a-holes.
All right.
We're just picking on bad Marvel comics.
Yes. Okay. The next book we're going to talk about is actually available right now in comic shops in singles because Image is reprinting it. But I'm going to show you the hardcover edition that was marketed through Kickstarter, and that's Section 0 by Carl Kiesel, and Tom Grummett.
Holy shit! I'm sorry. I thought the words are moving on the page because of the
the reflections. Yeah, the refractions.
Yeah, it's a really nice hardcover edition. It's about the same size as the Gladstone's, about 200 pages. It's by PanicButtonPress.com, and this is the first trade collection. It's the first 6 issues. Originally, when Carl and Tom did this, was back in I want to say '99 for the Gorilla lineup from Image that didn't last very long. Their financial backers backed out, and they had to go on hiatus. And back last year, they kickstarted this, and they kickstarted it so well that Image decided to reprint them, and that's what they're doing right now. And I think they're about halfway through the print run, so you should go talk to your retailers if you're interested in stuff like Doom Patrol when it was good, or Challengers of the Unknown. And if you're familiar with their work, opening it up to a Black in Black. That's not good.
18 years later.
Yes, 18 years later, which is when they started to continue the storyline. Let's see.
That's so hot right now. Everyone's skipping ahead massive amounts of years.
Yeah. There we go. There's some.
Hey, that woman's half naked.
Is she? Oh, no, not really. She's just wearing leather bikini. That's why. That's what it looks like she's naked.
Who did the coloring on that?
Let's see. I think that is Jeremy Colwell who did the coloring.
Not familiar.
Let's see.
I was going to say, I always had a lot of respect for Grummett. I always thought he had a lot of potential. His initial startup stuff through Americomics, I still have.
Mm-hmm. It's colored partly by Jeremy Colwell and partly by Grace Allison. Colwell's been doing a lot of work very well respected colorist in the business. So it's respectable, top notch stuff. So like I said, it's very much along the lines of the classic Doom Patrol, classic Challengers of the Unknown type comics.
Yep.
And they also did another Kickstarter for a book that I don't know if it's come out yet. It's called Section 0 1959.
So Grummet's pretty much doing just Kickstarter stuff, huh?
Yeah, Carl and Tom are doing that book.
Because I haven't seen them out there professionally in quite a while. I mean, through the mainstream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know what Tom's doing right now other than Section 0. But Carl's doing Section 0, and there was another one, Section 0 1959, which is an even further throwback to the original Challengers. I don't have any artwork for that, but you can go to section0.com, I believe, and find out more on that. Let me check real quick, or panicbuttonpress.com.
MSSOZ, never heard of a fulfillment center other than print on demand. M3SOZ, there are lots of fulfillment centers out there. They just don't normally do comics. There are all sorts of companies out there that are designed to take widgets from other companies and mail them out. You just have to look for them and find them. Amazingly, I have one that's just up the street from where I'm at. So they're boxing companies. That's what they do. They take widget one from a corporation and a mailing list, and they ship them out to wherever they need to go. That's what fulfillment centers are, not just for comics. So a lot of these Kickstarter guys, a lot of the Indiegogo guys are finding fulfillment centers that are real happy to get that business to take their mailing list from Indiegogo for their title and ship them out for them for a small fee. Saves them a lot of time.
And these people are professionals at doing it. So, you're not sitting there, with your family and your friends trying to put all those books together, or content, the posters and everything.
Trying to hope that you can print out mailing labels and having to buy the Gemini mailers and all of that. These guys have all the connections to do it. They get it done. They get it out.
Right. That's what I had to do back 20 years ago when I was doing it out of my dorm room, was all that heavy lifting work. As you say, it's not fun. So yeah, the fulfillment centers are wonderful.
Plus, you might want to keep your ears open. It wouldn't surprise me a lot if you suddenly see somebody that's going to start a comic fulfillment center specifically for crowdfunded books. So I'm sure that that's coming here shortly. And if Indiegogo or if Kickstarter gets a bigger gatekeeper than what they have now, and they keep running into problems with that, or Indiegogo tightens their reins, you're going to see an independent crowdfunding site pop up specifically for crowdfunding books too. Probably going to happen the next 3 or 4 years. So it's all out there, M3SOZ. You just have to look for it. Keep your ears open, watch a few other sites, chats like this. That's how you get that kind of information out.
Okay, I changed my camera angle. Is this better?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna leave it there for now then.
I did want to bring up something to Randy real quick. Randy, I did a Ollie's haul. I got a couple books, but I picked up.
You did? Because the wife said she was over at Ollie's and thought that there was some new stuff there. Oh, that's cool.
It was actually white out when I first brought it up, but yeah.
Oh, what's his name? He used to live around here, moved out to Portland.
Greg Rucker?
No, the other guy.
Steve Lieber?
Steve Lieber, yeah. Good guy.
$4 a piece.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's actually quality stuff. There's some stuff at Ollie's that's really good, Well, like I said, I went through and bought out all the Manhunter titles. Let me find that here.
Louis, do you have an Ollie's in your neck of the woods?
Yes, I do. And I have bought a ton of stuff from them over the years.
And then, course.
Yeah, that and Alterna, I would say, have been my major purchases lately. Well, that and I've done a lot of Walmart stuff for the 100 pagers because I like that format a lot. So I guess I have read some of the mainstream stuff.
and here's my copy of the Bible too,
Yes.
which
Those Manhunter gold books, just amazing.
yeah, you know what? You gave me one of those, Randy.
I did.
It's actually in my long.
Did you ever read it? It's one of my favorite comics.
I did.
Just an amazing property that stuns me that Warner's hasn't put out as a movie or a TV series. We're making an awesome updated TV series. The Paul Kirk Manhunter, Lewis.
Yes.
Yeah. Simonson's first mainstream work. Yeah.
I'm familiar with his work.
Just amazing stuff.
Yep. Very underrated. I mean, it's classic, and those of us who are familiar with it love it. But as far as the general current population, it's very underrated and unknown, which is sad.
Anyway.
But like I said, there's more stuff from Carl. We've got a current Kickstarter going out for Impossible Jones. We've mentioned it before in previous episodes. Currently, there's 13 days to go on it, and it's a little over 24,000 out of a $45,000 goal. Has 587 backers. It's about a thief who's going to be a superhero, basically. And it's by Carl with Eisner Award nominee artist David Hahn.
Now, Kickstarter's an all or nothing, right? If they don't hit their 45 goal, they don't get that money.
I believe that's true. Yes.
That's the way that they work. So that book might not even come out. They might have to do another couple campaigns in order to hit their goal.
Yep. That sounds like a good possibility. That's why I was hoping to get a little bit of love for them. But that's at impossiblekickstarter.com.
And now, let me see here. Take a look at, you said the Impossible. Sorry, I'm looking them up as you talk about them. I want to.
It's a nice looking product. I've seen it. I don't need to say anything more.
I don't even understand shit.
Not without some rum. Yeah, I don't need to understand shit.
Wally Wood, M3SOZ is asking us our opinions on Wally Wood's body of work. What is there that needs to be said? I mean, you're talking about one of the masters.
Holy crap. M3SOZ. Have you seen any of Wally Wood's work?
I have a question.
There was an awesome book at Ollie's, by the way, of Wally Wood, of all of his mad comic material.
I have a question.
Hope you get to pick that up. That was more than worth twice the price.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Who is Wally Wood?
Are you seriously asking that question?
Yes.
You're seriously asking who is Wally Wood?
I have no idea who Wally Wood is.
Do you know who Daredevil is?
Yeah.
Do you know the red costume on Daredevil?
Mm-hmm.
Wally Wood designed that.
Oh.
Wow. You know, somebody needs to learn some comic history. M3SOZ. That Wally Wood book that's at Ollie's worth twice the price. Wally Wood was always amazing. You can look him up on Wikipedia, Varian. He's
yeah, I actually just ordered a bunch of Wally Wood science fiction collections from Fantagraphics. I'm waiting for them to come in.
Yeah, those are nice. I think I have one or two of those. He did a lot of superhero work. Give me a second here. Thunder Agents.
Yep.
Thunder Agents. That's Wally Wood right there on that cover. Wally was a pioneer on a lot of stuff. He just wanted to keep drawing comics. That's what he wanted to do. He did a lot of commercial illustration work, did some movie poster work, did a lot of underground work when the underground movement was running. There's a very notorious Disney orgy poster that is attributed to Wood. He did Thunder Agents there. That's all been collected through DC. And there's archives out on those too. he's got a very unique look, very unique inking style. It's very distinctive. He is the, well, you know, Varian, you know who Power Girl is.
Yeah.
Well, he would created Power Girl.
Oh, okay.
He started in the, I would think the late 40s or early 50s, maybe. His big body of work is through what he's really recognized for as an EC. A lot of the, I believe he worked for Warren. A little bit after that, he was doing work wherever he could. Did a lot of inking work later on in his career because his eyes were going, because he was I believe he was a hardcore alcoholic, if I'm not mistaken. There is a Wikipedia page out there that he had a couple of inking styles, and he had a very, like I said, a very distinctive look to his work that, and a couple of inking techniques that kind of went with him after he passed that were very unique. He had a graduated tone work that nobody could figure out how he did it. And it was kind of his little secret trademark thing that he would throw in every once in a while. He did a lot of varying material, like Thunder Agents. I've got a really big comic that he was part of out of Whammo. I think it was called the Giant comic book that he created a couple of characters for. He did work for Playboy, did work commercially as much as he could, did some movie poster work, ghosted on a lot of comic strips for a while, did Prince Valiant for, I think, a couple of weeks, if not a whole month, did a month's worth of Spirit sections back in the late 50s when Eisner was winding down the Spirit, had the Spirit on the Moon. He is known for his science fiction work, his machinery, his superhero work. Worked at Marvel for a while, couldn't keep a constant gig because of his substance abuse problems. The legend is that he lost his sight and that he ended up committing suicide.
Oh, man.
Because of it. But he was a very gifted artist, very prolific when he was on. The last really big run that I remember of his was the DC All-Star Comics run with the Justice Society back when Power Girl was first introduced. He did a lot of inking work on that. He handled a lot of inking work because it was easy to do. He was doing, I believe, felt marker work at the end of his career instead of doing brush and ink.
And he was also one of Mad's founding artists.
He was an EC artist. Mad was just part of that.
Right.
He was really known for weird science fantasy. His science fiction work was just amazing. You don't see enough of that reprinted out there anymore. So it's well worth your time to dig that up.
Very weird here, Randy. I was looking at Wally stuff, and then I said, "Oh, let me see if there's." I was going to bring up one of your comic covers, and then I was scrolling. I'm like, "What the hell is this?" Hold on.
He did some underground work too with a character called Sally Forth. That's pretty notorious.
There you go.
Did you just pull something up here? Let me.
Yeah, do you see that?
No, hang on. Oh, yeah, it's a Lindy Jacks picture that I signed. Where's that from?
I have no idea. Let me click the site.
Wow.
Better not be.
That's downright foreign. Look at that. Where'd you get that?
I was just looking at your name.
Just Imagine number 6. He had me sign it. Lindy Jacks. Yeah.
Is this yours too? With the
yeah, that's mine.
Yeah, third. They want 37. Yeah.
Look at that. It's my wow. It's my cursive signature too. That was before I had a regular signature. That must be old. 83. I think it's older than that. Yeah, look at that. It's a regular cursive signature. I never sign my artwork like that anymore.
TotalCollection.net.
Yeah.
Just imagine.
That is Just Imagine 6. That's the that's why I signed it in cursive. That's the first, and it's in ballpoint pen too. That's the first thing I ever had printed.
Is it?
Yeah, that's my first published work. I went through and redrew that story for Flint Comics. It's almost the exact same story. Dialogue's a little different in a couple places, but and I stretched it out, I think, from an 8-page story to a 10-page story.
It's completely
It's a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess I could hit translate on the side there, but
I don't know where the Mad Rooster is all about. So that was a long time ago. Somebody probably wanted me to draw an angry rooster. I drew it on a whim, and somebody bought it from me at a con.
an angry cop.
What language is that in? Spanish?
Yeah, I believe so. Let's see here.
Todo colección.
Let's see. Close for vacations, so you can't buy it right now.
Oh, he's got his own store. He's off on holiday. Here we are. Randy Zimmerman's a graphic artist whose work appeared in numerous places. His most popular works are War of the Worlds, Tales from the Universe, The Spark, and his most notorious Spank the Monkey. I'm notorious. Good to know. Randy Zimmerman has been producing comics in one form or another most of his life, from having a small strip published in his hometown paper. I still have those originals. While still in high school, to having numerous properties and short stories published by a number of publishers, self-publishing his own works from time to time. Randy feels that comics as an art form will always be his primary choice for self-expression. Oh, this is really flattering. Somebody pulled that from somewhere a long time ago. Tales from the Universe, no mention of Flint Comics. So it's got to be 20 or so years. Fool is listed.
Yeah.
They didn't even pull the whole thing because it ends in Kara.
Yeah, I just thought it was, and this is the guy.
Somebody cut and pasted that from somewhere.
This is the guy who's selling it. I don't know.
Well, bless him. Hope he sells it.
I wonder where he's from. I mean,
It's got to be Mexico or Spain or somewhere.
So, did you do a show down there, or
no? I've never been out of the country for a show.
Close you, maybe.
I was told I was pretty popular in Germany for a short while from War of the Worlds and Horace.
Madrid.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hey, I can be a respectable artist. I just have to move to Madrid. There we go.
I just thought it was kind of cool.
That's awesome. Thanks for showing me that. That's cool.
And how about that? I didn't bring up any porn.
Ali Special. No, you can't. No, you can't pull up my porn stuff. I don't think any of that's online.
So is that the only book? That's the last book you got for us, Lewis?
Oh no, I've got more.
My God, man.
Well, it's 11:30. Do you have any other questions before we start pushing other people's products?
I do have one other question. Hold on. Where did I put it? Excuse me. Okay. Yep. This one.
I do have to say, when it comes to Kickstarter, if you want a good example of somebody who started, who has made their own cottage industry, it's to look at Coffin Comics. It's not that I'm a big fan of Lady Death or Brian Paluto, but he sure has made an industry for himself. And luckily, Kickstarter has grandfathered him in to the point where he's, just constantly doing like 4 campaigns a year.
Right.
Okay, so this one is from Christopher Lewis, and he asked us, the indie comics that we're seeing nowadays look really good. The quality, the paper texture, some of them are hardcover, hardbound, like your Bigfoot Bill book, Randy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Marvel and DC have taken notice? He says he bought a DC comic a couple weeks ago, and while holding the book, ink came from his thumb. Will they get their shit together and start putting out better quality books?
Oh, no.
Patient, or are they going to keep?
No, that's just the fact that they didn't dry the black ink, or they printed it black heavy. That come off the newsprint books that I print with the Flint Comics. That was part of the fun of distributing that paper. Is by the end of the day, your hands were totally black by the newsprint, and that you had that smell, that wonderful newsprint smell. There are different levels, different qualities of printing. Now, if you go and you look at alternative stuff, Peter's done a couple of videos on that problem, because he's noticed that with a lot of the Marvel products, that you'll end up with the ink smearing all over his hands. And he has figured out how to keep that from happening. So the alternative books don't have that happen to him. And he prints on cheap newsprint. in order to get it done. It's all a matter of finding the right publisher and having the publisher or the printer. I mean, finding the right printer and having the printer know his stuff enough to keep that from happening if they want. Some of them they don't want. Couple extra pennies a unit go a long way, especially when you're looking at Marvel titles that have dropped so low that, you know, I look at some of those numbers now and go, man, Arrow was printing double that.
And what were you going to say, Lewis? I cut you off.
No, that's fine. We're good.
It's all in the publisher and the printer. You know, if the publisher wants to take the care, they will take the care.
I would be concerned if, I mean, like, it used to happen to me a long time ago. I used to get Game Pro magazine to my house, and I remember having the same problem where I'd be reading the magazine and flipping through, looking at the games. Maybe it was the fact that I was looking at the game so hard because I wanted it to come out, but I lift my thumb and I'd see in my hand, and I have some ink on my hand.
That has to do with the not just the printing, but your own sweat. You know, it's your sweat that goes into the paper. And
you would have to really sweat in order to pull that up if it was printed correctly.
Yeah,
I'm a sweater.
I mean, you'd really sweat. You know,
there are people who are like that, Randy. My father, you can't give him a newspaper or a comic book or anything.
Well, newspapers are a whole different, you know, that, like I said, with the Flint Comics thing, no.
Like Wizard Magazine was that way for my dad. Like,
well, and again, you're talking Wizard Magazine. They didn't care about how that thing was printed. They just cared that it was printed.
Yeah.
Were you ever a Wizard subscriber, Lewis?
No.
Never subscribed to Wizard?
Never subscribed to it. I got some of the issues depending on what the articles were off the racks in the stores, but never subscribed.
I was a 14-year subscriber, about that maybe.
The starry-eyed guy back in the 90s who just he was addicted to Wizard. He's still addicted to Wizard. He does all the Wizard conventions.
Me? Yeah.
You even own stock in the company. But I don't know if we should. I don't know if you still had it or not. I've told you to sell that a couple times.
Yeah, I you know what's funny is that every time I think about, I go to the site and it's so bad that my phone tells me, like, every morning, like, hey, guess what? You're making any money today.
Your investment in Wizard. Anyway.
They it's weird because it was you know, like, hey, I'm gonna invest in Wizard and I'm gonna invest in Sony, and my Sony stock is okay, but my my Wizard stock, man, it's just it won't move up. It's never gonna move up. I you know what, I used to tell people I have this dream. I actually did have a dream that maybe it was a nightmare that something had happened. I woke up one morning and I owned the company.
I'd love to own that company.
You really?
Oh, it'd be awesome. Yeah, I'd turn that company around in a heartbeat. I'd print the cheapest, most disposable magazine I possibly could and have it all be almost like a shill comic, almost like Bleeding Cool, only physically printed. And get that out there on the newsstands as hard as you can, and then start beating on the mainstream's doors for advertising money.
Revenue, yeah.
And just make it cheap. Get it done, get it out. Articles. Ooh, hey, kids, dig this. You'd probably, you know, hey, go to your local comic shop. Here's an awesome retailer. Look at this guy's shop. You should travel all the way across the country. Go see this guy's shop because he's awesome. And then get him to advertise in that magazine. You could still make a killing. You just have to do it cheap enough in order to make it affordable. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, you go to a newsstand like at a Barnes & Noble or whatever, you pick up a magazine you think looks really cool. Damn thing's $20. Yeah. Might as well buy a book, you know? That's like what we were talking about with the printing thing. The big thing that folks keep forgetting is that comics were always disposable. That's why they were collectible. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a lot to be said for that old newsprint. And keeping it cheap, keeping it disposable, and encouraging kids to roll it up and stick it in their back pocket.
And that's why Bleeding Cool magazine didn't succeed, because they couldn't keep real advertisers for the print version.
They had a magazine?
Yep.
Short-lived.
Very short-lived. I think less than a year.
Oh, if it made 6 issues, it'd be a miracle.
Yeah.
So, Lewis, what's the next book you got for us?
Okay. The next one is Ron Randall's Trekker. And if you're unfamiliar with Ron Randall's Trekker, it's a 30-year-old series. It started out at Dark Horse back in 1988. This is the omnibus of some of the earlier stuff. But currently, Ron does his own website, trekkercomic.com, and he's been kickstarting original trade paperbacks that are like this one. This one is 6 inches by 9 inches print size, and I think it's about 190 pages or so. And this is the Dark Horse version. That's $25, but now Ron's doing it on his own through trekkercomic.com and Kickstarter. His most recent book is called Battlefields, which I think I've linked to people, but you can.
Who kicked that? Dark Horse kicked that out originally, right? That was one of their first books.
Yes, Dark Horse did the original the original stuff back in '88. That was the original singles as I was going, and this omnibus is a collection of a lot of their Dark Horse issues collected in one omnibus. But he's since gone into again self-publishing through Kickstarter, and he also does a weekly or daily webcomic with Trekker called trekkercomic.com. You can see the books that he's actually putting into the trades. The current one is called Trekker Battlefields, and it's got 8 days left to go on the Kickstarter. It's an all or nothing through June 27th. There was a $20,000 goal. He has surpassed that. He's at 26,500 plus with 488 backers. He's unlocked the first 2 stretch goals, and he's about maybe 1,500 from the third stretch goal so far. But it's been very successful for him. He's got both digital and print comics available through Etsy store, which you can find at his trekkercomic.com site. And he's also got the digital stuff that Dark Horse printed that you can buy from Dark Horse online for the digital downloads.
So why are we promoting Dark Horse comics?
Well, it's not. I'm promoting Ron more than anything else. It just so happens that some of the books are available through Dark Horse. Some of the back stuff is still available through Dark Horse on their web digital demand type stuff.
Were they facing some problems for a couple of months ago, Dark Horse? Was that some
problems in what way?
Like financial problems?
I haven't heard them being financially strapped, or I should say more strapped than any other mainstream company.
It may have been someone else.
You might be thinking IDW, because IDW is like red.
Yeah, IDW is who I was thinking you're talking about.
Speaking of which, Randy, hold on.
Well, here we go.
Yeah, we've seen that. Ron Randall. Okay, got it.
I got. Where's it? I was doing. If anyone doesn't know, I sometimes I dabble web design, and I was doing.
Dabble. I've had nothing but compliments on your SaginawComicCon.com.
Thank you.
Did I tell you the wife approves?
Did she? Does she? Okay,
She said it looked awesome.
It's. I did not know that Jason Moore was doing work for Lion Forge.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
I told him he's got to be careful.
Yeah.
No, just kidding. We really need to thank Gail Simone for saving the comic industry.
What's your next book?
Pardon?
What's your next book?
Oh, another book. It's not an actual book, but it is a connection to another Kickstarter.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find it real quick.
Why are we on a Kickstarter kick?
That just happens to be where I happen to find them.
Okay.
He doesn't believe in Indiegogo books. I see how it is.
I guess
No.
It must be a anti-CGer. That Nazi. Oh, that anti-Nazi. What the hell's wrong with you?
Okay.
We don't have to tell him shit.
I thought I beg your pardon. This is actually an Indiegogo.
Okay.
It's a book by Randy's pal Doug Tenaple. It's
We
called,
already covered Earthworm Jim, $283,000.
Is this Doom Kicker?
we're talking
What?
about Doom Kicker.
Why do we need to talk about Doom Kicker?
How much did it pay?
Huh? It's only like 23 something last time I looked.
It's at 27,420.
Yeah.
It's got 10 days left, but it's
Doug.
a 548% fulfillment, and it's it's not just Doug. It's Elliot Fernandez. Elliot's known for having done some DC and image work in the past, and Elliot's a cool guy. I know him, and he's from Tampa. And he's done some work with, like I said, he did work at DC on Harley Quinn and Power Girl. I think was the last stuff he did for DC.
Doug TeNapel has 11,000 subscribers to his video chats.
Mm-hmm. Well, but the person who's actually pushing this is
we have 220.
Yeah, but the thing is with this one, it's Elliot who's promoting it more than Doug, I think. So I want to give it a little more possible
to our audience of 6.
Well, not
3 of them are us.
Yeah.
Hey, well, I have one. I have one like to do. No, that looks good. Doom Kicker. I remember I didn't know what it was. I seen the art until Lewis sent it to me 2 days ago. Yeah, and I'm like, oh, I recognize that book now. And then
you don't listen to Doug's chats.
I always miss Doug's chats. And here's one of the reasons
he's got 11,000 subscribers.
I'm not one of them. It's nothing against Doug. Here's why. I usually watch YouTube, a lot of YouTube, when I'm going to bed or when I'm drawing.
You fall asleep listening to people's chats?
Yeah, it's weird. Like
his last chat had 1.3 thousand viewers.
Like what was it? Is it Comic Historian the one that has a deep voice?
He's reviewed Cigar Glass that's gotten 4 times the amount of subscribers you have.
But yeah, I don't really watch YouTube. Like if I'm sitting in the living room, I put it on the TV and I watch on the PlayStation. And you can't like subscribe or anything. Well, I can't because I'm not going to. But I do it through my computer.
Yeah.
Never through, so I'm very rarely, on YouTube on my computer unless I'm live streaming. There is a book that I want to talk about that I have not funded, but I thought it looked pretty good. If Lewis doesn't mind me stepping on his toes and still in the sun.
No, go ahead.
For a second here. Where is it? There it is. I thought it looked pretty good. I don't know if anybody's seen it. It's Soul Finder, Demon's Match. I like books dealing with the occult and whatnot. And my book that I have that I'm working on, been working on since I was very young. I've been changing the story around and everything. But there's a lot with the religion and the occult. But the book was really cool. I'm only asking $15 for the comic. So I am going to at some point definitely. I think I got 26 days left to go in on this book here. It's gonna be pretty good. The art looks kind of cool. I definitely like it's kind of like a mix of looks like a manga style and a little bit, just a little bit, a few things there, but I definitely like it. I'll be picking it up. I don't know if, let's see here. Oh yeah, 104% funded. They get 10 grand. They got it. 10 grand. I don't have it. But it's Douglas Ernst. And he's a CG'er, isn't he, Randy?
Doug, yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Doug Ernst. I think he was a CG'er.
How long do you think it'll be before they drop that brand?
With the CG thing?
Yeah, I'm ready to see that go away. That's just such a negative term to me.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. I don't really. Maybe when Trump's out of office, I don't know.
See, you're equating that right-wing politics, and there's some of those people in there that claim they're CG that aren't right-wing.
Randy, I agree with you. I'm not saying that. I'm saying what the general population is doing. And I'm saying once Trump is
And,
out, maybe they'll.
and again, they're pigeonholing these people.
They are. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, with that stupid brand. If they'd get away from that brand, people ask me if I'm CG. Now, I was CG long before CG started, so I'm pre-CG. Go figure that out.
Yeah.
You know, I've always wanted to read good comics. I back good comics. There's a lot of oddball stuff out there. You just have to go out there and find it. You know,
Are you good comics adjacent?
No. If somebody comes up with another brand that isn't freaking CG, I just hate the title. I always have. I told you that.
Yeah. Okay.
I said I don't agree with it. I think the logic behind their marketing in order to piss off the other guys because they were branded that is just, you know, that's like that's like Ryan Johnson's idea of writing to subvert people's expectations. It doesn't make any sense. You want good comics, go out and get good comics, you know.
Yep.
If you want to be a right-wing wacko, that's completely your right, but do it away from my comics. Same thing with the left. Do it away from my comics. I want to read and be entertained, and you know, I love this art form, and I like points of view if they're done with a certain level of talent. But holy crap, you know, there's enough of this crap. Let's do good comics.
Yep.
Let's make good art.
And I know this is let's see here. I heard a rumor today, and this has nothing to do with indie comics, but just want to get you guys' take on it. That apparently once James Gunn is finished with
Guardians 3.
Guardians 3,
Mm-hmm.
he's gonna go over and basically be the Kevin Feige of the DCEU over at Warner Brothers.
Well, they want him to do it really bad, but Marvel, I think, he's always had plans to be on the cosmic side of the MCU. I think you're going to see the MCU do a couple of splits here, which is what they're going to announce with their phase 4 or 5 thing. You're going to see them split off and do a couple of movies, and everybody's going to get a little section.
I just want to see what you guys thought about that, because that's pretty interesting. And then,
well, right now Warner Brothers is throwing crap at the wall as hard as they possibly can in every possible direction to see if they can make any kind of money. Flashpoint's still around. So-and-so still working on it. Maybe. Where's Jeff Johns' Green Lantern 48 hours movie? You know?
and here, I did have one question I forgot to ask. And this is
Warner's is just desperate to get their movies out there, so they're saying anything.
And you guys, and then this is probably the last, because it's about to be 12 o'clock, so we normally get around there. But here's the last question that I had, and I forgot about it. A couple weeks ago, you guys talked about Sony execs walking the aisles at Wizard World's bigger shows. You know, they were, and what they're referring to is that Wizard World struck a deal with Sony. Sony execs were going to walk through Artist Alley, pick up new titles, to take them back to Hollywood to see if there's any interest in turning these into, you know, films.
Right.
So far, I know of nothing personally that's been picked up. Was this Wizard
picked up physically? It's going to take a while before they determine anything.
Oh no! If they had picked it up, the first minute they signed contracts, they'd make a big deal about it, just like what Paramount did with the Atlas Comics.
Yeah, what I'm saying is it doesn't just happen overnight. That's all.
Is this? Do you think that's something that, as a creator, me personally, I'm like, oh yeah. I mean, I got a big flashy booth at cons. I know Wizard did start a best booth of the con thing. Now they walk around and they, you know, rate booths.
Is that why you still do Wizard Worlds? Because you're hoping for a Sony executive to walk up and go, "Hey, the world needs a Tipsy the Gnome TV series."
Yes, I need that. I need that in my life. I need validation.
Sell your stock. That's all I'm saying.
It's like,
I'm still doing Wizard World, man.
More
stock.
Do you guys think that? Do you think that it's worth it to attend those Wizard World shows for the off chance that a executive will walk down the aisle, say, "I liked your comic."
If that's why you're doing the Wizard show, yeah, heck yeah, spend that money. Go, do, be. You know, do it.
Yes.
I'm not holding my breath waiting for that deal to come down the line.
I mean, how is that different than going to San Diego Con or Dragon Con or other places? Because all the major shows have representatives from television and film there. So you can get picked up anywhere as far as that goes. I don't think Wizard World.
Nah, I don't think you see that at all at the shows anymore, dude. You might see it at San Diego because they're there. You know, it's just up the street for them. Yeah, but if you have anything picked up at a convention now, it's from an independent production company.
Yeah.
That traveled out and said, "Hey, that looks kind of cool. Let's, why don't we reserve that?"
Like I said,
you're not going to see major studios do that anymore.
Yeah, well, like I said, at the major shows like San Diego, New York, maybe Dragon Con, but that not the regular shows. No,
maybe San Diego, but I don't think you see it at Dragon Con. Dragon Con has a rep for being a cosplay show. Mm-hmm. New York, maybe if you get a production company that's running around New York, but
you can't get your money at Dragon Con either. So
you can if you want to give them 20% or whatever. I don't know. Who knows? Whatever. Yeah. I don't do that. I've never done that show, so I can't say from personal experience.
And then I have a personal question for you guys. It goes back to our first question we started off with about the safety and assurance board.
Okay.
Let's just say, devil's advocate here. You get a letter back in the mail. Hello, Mr. Raven. Hello, Mr. Zimmerman. We recently went through your book, and we don't like it. We feel that it doesn't show any diversity, has themes of sexuality. It's there were strippers.
I edited and Randy wrote and drew. Okay.
What do you say? How do you feel about that? Like, so we're not going to offer you space at our show as long as you're running these titles.
We say, okay, bye.
Yeah. Obviously you don't want my money. That's fine. Welcome to the free trade system.
Maybe I'm the only one raising a stink about it.
But I would probably be like Tim Vigil in the New York show. I would be screaming from the mountaintops. I've been at this show for how many years, and these people suddenly decide that they don't want me there. F them. But
if that situation was one that you've been there right along for so many years, you might.
You're going to see more of that as more politics get involved with this committee conventioning,
I find it odd that these same people will say they use the word transparency. Well, we need transparency in your company, but you ask them, well, who's on your board? I need transparency on who your members are. You can't know that information. Like, why not? I think I should be able to know who's on your board because someone may have a problem with me.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true. But at the same time, you don't really expect things to go both ways. Do you? I mean, it's their show. They're going to run it how they want to do it. And either you are with their program or not.
We're in the age of gatekeeping. And, it goes back to that Good Buddy network that we've seen before so many times.
Yeah.
I guess the way to get around that is crowdfunding.
It's either crowdfunding or making your own shows or doing, competing with them on other platforms. Mm-hmm.
Doing your own shows, how you get banned from shows here in Michigan. So
I wouldn't know, but people stopped inviting me a long time ago. So maybe that's so. Hey, I have a show coming up at the end of next week up in Saginaw.
That's right. Saginaw at the SVRC Marketplace. Was it 203 Washington Avenue?
Downtown Saginaw, right next to the river. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's the old Saginaw News building, Lewis. They took it and they converted it into a marketplace.
Cool.
They have a big industrial elevator that was originally designed to carry incredibly large rolls of newsprint from the first floor to the second floor. We're in the second floor in the banquet room.
Yep.
So we're going to be trucking and pushing and hauling all sorts of merchandise up in there. It's for a $5 admission fee and a $50 table cost.
And Randy will be there. I'll be there. Lewis will be there in spirit. Maybe I'll live chat with him.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
We'll all be there.
We'll try to do a live chat. Randy, is there electricity?
Yes. In fact, every pole in the middle of the island, we're going to have to figure out the table layout because there's these incredibly huge pillars, and each pillar has got an electrical outlet. It's connected or wired into it. So
I need to.
I'm going to be moving tables around in order to put those pillars inside of the islands of the tables. 50 8-foot tables, 26-foot tables.
And Lewis, will you be doing will you be the next jumping into Comic-Con promotion?
Yes and no. It depends. I've got a friend here in Columbia who has done some local shows, but he's been on hiatus for personal reasons I don't want to get into here. But once that's settled, we'll probably work into getting back into the swing of things over here in Columbia.
Excellent. And you'll obviously keep us up to date, so we'll know. And then I'll expect a free table.
If you want to come down here, that's we'll make sure that we can get you in. That's the thing. We're not. There's local people here who are like, I've been here, living here in Columbia since 2007, and we've got multiple shows throughout the year here in the Columbia area. And a lot of times I'm forgotten, shall we say. And it's like, okay, that's fine. If that's how you want to play it, I don't care. But then I'll go into one of the stores locally, and everybody's like, why weren't you at the show? Because I wasn't invited. I mean, it's not my place to go hunt down and beg for a table. If you want me there, I'm around. You want me there? Ask. I'll see if I got room in my schedule.
I understand that. I personally very rarely get invited to shows. No, I'm just kidding. I get invited to some shows. Randy always makes sure that I stay up to date on his shows. And
dude, you have a convention schedule. You do 5 times more shows a year than I do anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
if I lived up in Michigan, I'd probably do about 10 or 12 shows throughout Michigan throughout the year, probably. I'd definitely be doing Randy's shows. I'd probably be up there. What's the one up there? Not by Sheboygan, but Traverse City?
The Cherry Hill Con, yeah.
Cherry Capital Con, yeah.
Cherry Capital Con.
Cherry Capital Con. And
I might actually do the Fantastic Con at Soaring Eagle if they have it again.
Yeah, that was in Mount Pleasant, wasn't
it?
Yeah.
I might do that just to do it because I was there last year and it looked pretty good.
That reminds me, Brandy, did Michael L. Peters contact you?
For who? What?
Michael L. Peters.
No.
He hasn't contacted you yet? Okay.
No.
He doesn't have room to do this show this weekend, but maybe the August show you said you were going to have up next?
I have a September show, but
September show.
Yeah, September 14th. It's a Fall Fest.
Yeah. We'll
see how this one goes. We might end up shutting the Fall Fest down. It all depends on how the reception is this time.
Oh, okay.
So that's gonna do it for us this week, guys. We will see everybody next Tuesday, unless something stupid happens.
Are you planning on something stupid happening?
It is the comic book industry. I almost can get.
Oh, you mean then we might break in and do something impromptu and talk like we did that one Monday.
Yep. Like, did you hear what happened?
Did you hear what happened?
Yeah.
For those who want to know more about me, here's where you go.
Move it down. Wingman? Yeah,
Wingman is basically, as an inker, you're the wingman to the penciler. You make them look good. And I've got a couple of stores and my social media sites. Let's see if I can get that where you can read it properly.
Mm-hmm. Yep, we can see it. Keep talking.
You can find me at those places. And I'll also have hopefully a Patreon and everything started up soon. And I'll be doing like Randy with his ZimmGeek channel. I'm going to hopefully do my own channel. Probably in about 2 or 3 weeks, I'm going to hopefully try to get that launched. So, that way we'll always have multiple things that you can talk to us at.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. All right.
Hey, ZimmGeek channel for me. I'm on Facebook and Twitter. You can always find me. Track me down if you want to ask any question. If you want anything addressed in the future week's discussions, make sure you put that in the comment section. We'll see it.
Either comments here or email Varian.
Or get a hold of Varian. Yep.
And I, of course, am Varian Grant. Again, your host, your person.
You are the MC, my friend.
I could say your boy, but then people will say me have
a with the raccoon hat.
Oh yeah. I didn't condition it today, but it's looking real nice.
I got a Poobah hat if you want to wear it. It's blue.
Really?
A couple of horns on it. Yeah, just like the Grand Poobah and Flintstones.
That's pretty cool. I might have to wear that.
Yeah, I honestly I wore it for my daughter's wedding.
So, did you?
Yeah.
I'm gonna check that out.
It was a Halloween wedding. You should have seen it because Joe Toth came dressed as Space Ghost.
Really?
Yeah, and his kids were the Uma Thurman character from Kill Bill, and the what's her name girl from Kick-Ass. Really good costumes, very accurate. And needless to say, everybody's on Monica's side of the family all looked at us like we were crazy, but it was good. I got to officiate the wedding. It was awesome.
That's cool. That's awesome. Cool. All right, you guys. I will see.
But yeah, off topic.
Next week.
Yep.
Stay safe.
12:06. Thanks for being here.
All right, we'll see you guys later.
Yep. Take it easy.